here only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 14th of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Now, the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, has said that the scrapping of a plan to house asylum seekers in a Hampshire town centre is a victory for the British people. So, is this the beginning of a people-powered domino effect? And are we now going to see more migrant accommodation closing down?
Well, we've seen successful protests in the past at RAF Scampton and, of course, at Linton-on-Ouse in Yorkshire. So it could well be that people power is the way forward.
I've just spent 48 hours in northern France. I wanted to see what's going on up close.
I'm Robert. I'm from England. Why do you want to go to England?
Well, that's the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick. He's posted a cinematic video of his experience observing migrants and people smugglers in northern France. That's as those protests continue outside migrant hotels. We're speaking to him later.
And tomorrow, the Donald will meet with Vladimir Putin for crunch peace talks. Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer welcomes the Ukrainian President, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, to number 10 this very morning.
A big hug there for Zelenskyy by Keir Starmer outside 10 Downing Street. But is Donald Trump listening and watching? Will he do a deal that supports Ukraine's territorial sovereignty when he meets with Vladimir Putin tomorrow in Alaska?
And it's a big congratulations to those celebrating today. Top A-level results have reached a record high despite attempts to curb grade inflation. So are children getting cleverer these days, or are exams getting easier? And apparently, the boys have beaten the girls.
Well, there were a lot of happy faces here at this school in Lichfield. They achieved 100% pass rate, but is there a regional disadvantage? We'll be delving into those figures and, of course, giving you the reaction from pupils.
We're here at Wilberforce Sixth Form College in Hull, where there's been a real mixture between A-levels, T-level results and B-Tech results. We've been speaking to students about what their steps are next in the future.
Elsewhere, British economic growth has slowed down, following hikes to that national insurance tax and the national minimum wage. But what does this mean for you? We'll debate it.
I recognise there's still more to do to make sure that people in all parts of the country benefit from that growth.
Risks dragging itself into a political storm by displaying a giant Stop Killing Children, Stop Killing Civilians banner on the pitch before the Super Cup. Do you remember where you were on A-level results day?
Yes, I do.
Did you go into school, open your little envelope, get a little picture, get the balloons out?
They were emailed to me.
Oh, how boring.
I went to school anyway to see if there was something I had to do, and I didn't have to be there.
So you didn't bother?
Cycled down there, said hi to a teacher, went home. There wasn't anything to pick up. I thought there might have been, but this was already in the year of our Lord 2015.
Right, well, I think we made a whole song and dance about it, actually. You know, everyone had to go in, everyone given their envelope. Obviously, you had to have your parents with you. Some people brought their whole family, you know, the video camera. Girls' school.
Just got an email.
Just got an email. Well, congratulations to everyone. Christopher Hope is right here, actually. Christopher, do you remember receiving your A-level results if you did your A-levels?
In an envelope in the last century, you would have sent them in the post.
In the post?
Yes, so they had to appear, and you opened them up, a little brown envelope. It was really nerve-wracking.
Gosh, what if it got lost in the post? What if it didn't appear on the right day? I mean, some people would have known and some people wouldn't.
That was back in 1990. So
all A's?
ABB, actually.
ABB, not bad. They were harder back then, weren't they, Christopher?
They were, yeah, that's actually A-star AA in today's figures. You did well.
I think I did 4.5 A-levels, believe it or not. I did a Russian AS level.
Oh, wow. Why not?
Yeah.
Zdravstvuyte.
Zdravstvuyte. Spasiba.
Idiot sneg.
And Mark White, we're not going to ask him about his A-levels.
Oh,
heard he had a
sorry,
shocker.
I'm just doing a breaking news story. I'm slightly not focused on the task in hand.
You're actually doing your work.
I'm afraid so, yes. We'll bring it to you in a few minutes' time.
Well, that's to look forward to, so do stick with us.
That's how the sausage is made.
That is how the sausage is made. Breaking news coming up next after the headlines.
Hello from the newsroom. A very good afternoon to you. Just after midday, well, a man accused of driving into crowds during Liverpool's Premier League victory parade now faces a further 24 charges. Paul Doyle is alleged to have driven into fans on the 26th of May, injuring 134 people. He was previously charged with 7 offences, including wounding and grievous bodily harm with intent, plus dangerous driving. 6 of the new offences relate to children, including one 6-month-old and a 7-month-old. The 53-year-old is at Liverpool Crown Court today, and his trial is set for the 24th of November, expected to last up to 4 weeks. Breaking news in the last hour or so that around 150 people, including patients and staff, have been evacuated from Guy's Hospital in central London after a chemical incident there this morning. The London Fire Brigade was called just before 9 o'clock this morning, sending specialist officers, fire engines and rescue units to the scene of that incident. Crews currently ventilating the basement and the ground floor of the hospital while a large cordon remains in place. No injuries at this stage reported, and the evacuation is understood to only be precautionary. Sir Keir Starmer has rolled out the red carpet for Volodymyr Zelenskyy at Downing Street as Europe is bracing for Donald Trump's high-stakes meeting with Vladimir Putin on Friday in Alaska. The Prime Minister said Britain stands ready to increase pressure on Russia if it rejects a ceasefire, with further sanctions already being prepared. He also praised Mr Trump for creating a viable chance to end the war, but reiterated that talks on Ukraine's future should not happen without its involvement. It comes after Trump has already threatened very severe consequences if Putin rejects a ceasefire.
If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelenskyy and myself if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
In other news today, hundreds of thousands of students across England, Wales and Northern Ireland are finding out their A-level, T-level, BTEC National and other Level 3 results today. Many learning that they have made it into their top university pick. UCAS says a record 226,000 18-year-olds have secured their first or firm choice, up nearly 10,000 from last year. And the Education Secretary says the results show a steadying of the ship after the pandemic. UCAS Chief Dr Joe Saxton also says that universities are especially keen to enrol UK students this year amid uncertainty over international numbers. The UK economy grew by 0.3% between April and June, slower than the first quarter but stronger than expected, according to official figures out today. Growth was driven by a rise in services and a boost in construction, while production fell. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says the UK is the fastest growing economy in the G7 for the first half of the year so far and called the numbers encouraging.
Today's numbers show that the economy beat expectations in the second quarter of this year. We are the fastest growing economy in the G7 for the first half of this year, with a GDP growth of 0.3% this quarter, and that's after GDP growth of 0.7% the quarter before that. Look, I recognise there's still more to do to make sure that people in all parts of the country benefit from that growth.
And the Met Office has issued a yellow thunderstorm alert for northern Scotland until at least 10 o'clock tonight, with flood warnings also in place. But the UK is still enduring its fourth heat wave of the summer so far. Heat health alerts have been extended right into next week for much of England, covering regions from Yorkshire through to the southwest. Officials warn England is also facing nationally significant water shortfalls, with parts of the country still in drought. That is the news on GB News. I'll be back with you in half an hour. Now, though, let's take a look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a quick look at the markets for you this hour. The pound will buy you $1.3581 and €1.1622. The price of gold is £2,471 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,159 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 10 minutes past midday. And before we get on with the rest of the programme, we must say that a lot of you have been writing in at gbnews.com/yoursay about your results days at school.
Yeah, Paul's gone in touch. He says, some of us didn't care a stuff about exams, left school age 16, straight to work, never out of work till my retirement, never been on the sick, etc, etc, etc. Yes, lots of people didn't bother with A-levels. Perhaps too many people are doing A-levels these days.
It's a thought. Richard says, no wonder many kids feel pressured at A-level time with all the fuss some make of it these days.
It's true.
Maybe we should talk about it less.
Well, I just remember, I went to an all-girls school, a very academic one, a bit of an exam factory, and the stress that we put each other under. Just the obsession. I remember having all my little notes with my little pink and yellow and green cards, and I had all my little felt tips and highlighters and all sorts.
I think this is such a male-female thing.
Yeah.
My sister was exactly the same. Colour-coded folders and little post-it notes and everything. All the girls I knew, absolutely meticulous. That's
like Dawn Neeson today.
Whereas I just didn't really know anything. I don't know.
This is
I had
Tom
some
basically
sort of
saying he was just naturally gifted, so he could just walk into the exam room and just pass with flying colours.
Well, that's only because I didn't easy subjects.
While I had to toil.
It's only because I did subjects which were basically just me talking at a piece of paper, well, writing down a subjective analysis of some book, or, you know, I did history, English and politics. It's all nonsense.
Nonsense subjects, eh?
It's just waffly subjects where you can just waffle onto a page and walk out with an A star.
You should have done physics, maths, further maths, economics.
Yeah, that would be the way to be sensible about it. But we will get to some more of your stories a bit later in the programme. We must say we've got some breaking news to bring you now with our GB News Home and Security Editor, Mark White.
Well, it's a major success for the National Crime Agency. Remember, of course, just yesterday they were being criticised for the fact that the number of arrests linked to the Channel migrant crisis had shown a drop compared to the year before. They've argued that actually, although the actual number may have dropped, the quality of the arrests they're making has gone up, and that's I think highlighted by this news. They confirmed that a major seizure of 20 small migrant boats has been made in a National Crime Agency-led operation in Bulgaria at the Kapitan Andreevo border crossing, one of Europe's busiest border crossings into the European Union. You can see there those small boats clearly packed up at the moment. They've unfurled one of them, they've not inflated them, but these are 8-metre long boats that would be used by migrants in the English Channel. They were destined, we're told, by the National Crime Agency for the Netherlands before onward journey to the northern coast of France. And this comes on the back of another significant seizure of 25 of these migrant boats just a couple of weeks before that. So they are making some significant impacts on the supply of these boats. We know that the people smugglers are well sort of embedded in terms of their supply lines. But this will hit them. You know, that's 45 small boats that they won't have to push out into the channel, that they'll have to get from elsewhere. And look at this. This may explain why we saw this mega dinghy being used yesterday, as reported on GB News, carrying 106 people across the English Channel. It may be that they're looking elsewhere for their sort of supply of these small boats.
I mean, this is extraordinary. I mean, that thing is 60 foot long. I mean, that is just the most extraordinary scale of a boat. But these ones that are seized, 8 metres, 26 feet, 45 of them, if every single one made its way across the English Channel, I mean, that is thousands upon thousands of migrants.
Well, yes, my maths is not great, but if you do a calculation of about 70, let's just say, on a good day on these boats, 45 times 70, that's 3,150 migrants.
And you say your math's not good, Mark.
I'm just brilliant. What the viewers didn't see off camera was a wonderful Tom doing the calculation on his phone for me. I love you.
Oh, no, that's the magic of television. No one needed to know you were reading that number.
I'm an honest boy.
Far too honest.
But no, so that is potentially 3,150 migrants that won't make it across the channel. Although there's
by
always
these means,
there's always the other argument that yes, we can whack this particular mole, but there'll be another mole that whacks up in this never-ending game of whack-a-mole that the authorities have to play. And because there is such demand, because there are tens of thousands of people waiting there on the French north coastline, different groups will always provide them with the means to come across.
Yeah, I mean, there is an argument, and a very legitimate argument, that actually you're not stopping them coming across, you're just delaying them coming across. But nonetheless, you know, we have got to encourage our authorities to try to do their best to disrupt and hopefully dismantle the criminal operations on the other side of the channel. This is some way to doing that. It's a very small impact on what is a global trade worth billions of pounds, but it's at least something that's being done.
Yes, I look forward to seeing mugshots of people smuggling gangs as well as these boat seizures. But I guess a step in the right direction. Mark White, thank you very much for bringing us that breaking news, that considerable number of boats there seized by the NCA. But let's move on, because Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to Downing Street this morning ahead of tomorrow's summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Well, it all comes as Starmer says there is a viable chance of a ceasefire now between Russia and Ukraine after all these years of war. But President Trump says there will be very severe consequences if Putin doesn't agree to end this war in Ukraine.
Well, our political editor, Christopher Hope, joins us now. Christopher, do we have any idea of what Keir Starmer and Zelenskyy will have been saying to each other?
Not yet, and I'm waiting for the update from number 10 Downing Street. We have a tweet just put out by Keir Starmer in the past half an hour in which he emphasised a 3-second embrace on the steps of Downing Street. That is a very warm embrace by the UK for the Ukrainian leader. Great to see you, my friend, it says from Sir Keir Starmer. Britain will always stand with Ukraine. What that means, we'll wait and see, because the drama moves very quickly to Alaska tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. the summit starts, and then there's a very rare press conference between the US president and the Russian president. That's, of course, Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. A one-to-one meeting, only interpreters in attendance. Anything could happen in that press conference. It will be absolutely extraordinary viewing live on GB News. I mean, we'll see how it plays out. We're told by the Kremlin spokesman moments ago that the two will discuss the huge untapped potential of US-Russian ties. they obviously want to talk about the economy. That's a problem for Russia at the moment. But Donald Trump has said to Vladimir Putin in terms yesterday to accept a ceasefire or face consequences. And the terms of that ceasefire, will it involve surrendering the Donbass region permanently to Russia? Would that be acceptable to Ukraine? Answer, no, and therefore not acceptable to the UK. So it's about to all kick off in a big way this weekend.
I mean, it is so difficult to actually see where this is going to land, if it is going to land tomorrow. I mean, it's entirely possible that there will be no agreement, maybe even no press conference or a very stormy press conference.
Yes.
I mean, this is
Anything
a one-day meeting in Anchorage, Alaska, which both Donald Trump and Putin are flying into for just one day and flying out that very evening. There's a lot that has to happen in that sort of crucible of negotiation.
First meeting since 2018. I mean, just on Monday, the PM spokesman told us he couldn't trust Vladimir Putin as far as he could throw him. And that's where the UK sits with Russia. So we as a country and all the 30 European Union countries on the call yesterday with Vance and Donald Trump are watching on nervously, and no one knows what to expect. So that embrace outside Downing Street about an hour and a half ago was really important.
And is the only sticking point at the moment, as we understand, territory, and whether there will be territory that is ceded to the Russian side, or are there other issues that stand in the way of a peace agreement?
Those are the issues between Russia and Ukraine, but America wants access to these rare earth materials, so Trump wants a deal on the sidelines of the other deal. He wants to know what he can get back for guaranteeing that peace.
Is there not another issue for Russia, which is what sort of country rump Ukraine would be? Is the rest of Ukraine, whatever is lobbed off the side of it, allowed to join NATO? Allowed to join the EU? How Western is this rump Ukraine allowed to be? Because I suppose one of the big issues that kicked off this conflict back in 2013, 2014, initially, was that Russia thought Ukraine was getting too close to the West. So, I mean, it could be that this war ends with actually Ukraine being more Western than ever, Vladimir Putin keeping a slither down the edge, but losing that big goal of keeping Ukraine in his sphere of influence.
That's the risk, but there's no question that Putin will want to stop Ukraine joining NATO or the EU. He wants that buffer zone between Russia and the European Union. And, of course, what it means for the UK is interesting, because back in February there was the Lancaster House summit that we went to for GB News, and we heard this coalition of the willing. That suggested UK troops deployed as peacekeepers on this enormous border. But do we have enough troops to spare for that? The answer is probably no. So that's concerning too. So we'll wait and see what this means. And it's another step forward in this protracted conflict.
Yes, and do let us know if you find out more details from Number 10 over what Keir Starmer has been saying to President Zelenskyy. But in the meantime, we are going to give you all the details for our Great British giveaway. And it is your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year, plus have an extra £5,000 in your bank account to play with. And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, you'll get £15,000 instead. Here you go.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 months. Cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure, because why not? And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you. We'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. What are you waiting for? Lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come on today's programme. Yes, the economy, it's slowed down. Following hikes to national insurance and even the minimum wage, what does this slower growth mean for this country and the difficult decisions the Chancellor has to make?
I recognise there's still more to do to make sure that people in all parts of the country benefit from that growth.
And after the Break. It's a big congratulations to those celebrating today. Yes, top A-level results have reached a record high despite attempts to curb grade inflation. So are children getting cleverer, or God forbid, our exams getting a little bit easier.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday from 8 p.m.
I thought you'd set up a new version of Pimlico Plumbers in London.
Yeah, my family have set up a company called We Fix London, but we started planning that, 2 years before Labour got in. If we'd known Labour was getting in, we wouldn't have planned it. So obviously we've got to comply with the tax regulations, but anybody with any sense would agree with what I'm saying. The taxes are too high in the UK for wealthy people. Wealthy people can go and work anywhere in the world and be financially a lot better off.
And we had a non-dom regime that was basically stable for 200 years. It's only recently that it's been changed. And we're changing it and making it harder, just as other countries are making it easier. So you can go to Italy and you can negotiate an amount that you will pay. Portugal's been welcoming people. Malta's been welcoming people. All over the world, countries are saying, please come and bring your money. And the UK is saying, we're going to take all your money. We don't want you anymore.
That's right. Look, they're all encouraging sort of UK business people to come there, and it's working. If you become a tax exile in Italy, you pay 200 grand for the year. You don't have to pay no more. But the real problem is we're wasting their money, and they should be encouraging entrepreneurs to be staying. I think our biggest export at the moment is wealthy people.
So you're a businessman. You know how to do things and make a profit. If you're advising the Chancellor on how to get the money the country needs to pay for the public services, what would you be saying? Because at the moment, the tax revenues don't meet our expenditure. There is a gap. Something needs to give.
Resign.
All right, but that's not the answer.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here, and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me next Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past midday, and today is A-level results day. Thousands of teenagers are receiving their grades across England, Wales and Northern Ireland.
Well, let's go straight to Anna Riley, our reporter who's in Hull. Anna, you're at a school, you've been speaking to students. How well have they done? How well have they done, Anna?
Good afternoon. Well, it's been largely smiles all around here at Wilberforce Sixth Form College. A lot of happy students that have been trickling in throughout the day. From 8 o'clock they could come in and get their results, and they can also get them online as well. So not every student actually comes to the college to get the results, but we're joined now by Lauren. She patiently waited until this afternoon. She didn't look online, and you've got your results just now. Just tell us what you've studied and how you've got on.
So I've studied BTEC Law, English Literature and Language and Criminology, and I think I did really well for myself. I struggled through a lot of them, but I'm really proud of my result overall.
And what made you pick that combination of doing the BTEC and 2 A-levels?
Honestly, it was based on my GCSE, really, because I thrived mostly in my BTEC subjects within GCSE. And so coming into the enrolment day 2 years ago, they actually suggested that maybe I'd thrive more on the BTEC, which within my result I have seen. So, you know, that kind of worked out really.
And what are you going to go on to do next?
So I've just received this morning the information that I have been accepted into Hull University to do English and secondary teaching.
Brilliant, so we've got a budding teacher coming up then.
Well, hopefully, that's the aim, yeah. But no, I did work experience a few years ago within a school, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, so that based my decision.
Fantastic stuff. And we've not just been speaking to Lauren, we've been speaking to other students here throughout the day about what they got on their results. This is what they told us.
So I've got my results and I got distinction, star, distinction, star, distinction, and I'm really happy with that. Yeah, really happy.
And what was that in?
That was in extended diploma in uniform services.
I studied biology, chemistry and maths at A-level, and I got on pretty well. I got 3 Bs in each subject.
Well done. And just tell us what you're going to go on to do next.
Next I'm going to go on to study neuroscience at the University of Leeds, so I'm really looking forward to that.
I studied BTEC Criminology, Applied Law BTEC and Applied Psychology BTEC.
How did you get on?
Really well. I got a distinction star in Applied Law, a merit in Applied Psychology and then a C in Criminology.
And what made you pick a BTEC rather than A-level? I think. So there's a real combination of students here doing A-levels, T-levels and BTECs. Next year, though, is the only year that the BTECs are going to be run for. They're set to be phased out from them by the government. So there may well be a qualification skill gap because that T-level does not directly replace the BTEC. So we'll see what happens next year. But certainly a lot of smiling faces, certainly from Lauren here today.
Well, fantastic. Please do send Lauren our congratulations. I'm sure she'll make a fine teacher in the future. Thanks, Anna, for bringing us those results on A-level results day.
Yeah, brilliant to see all of those smiling faces, of course. But I suppose that's one of the good things about getting emailed your results and only going in if you want to. Because I don't think many upset children would then go into school immediately, right? If you go in, if you've got your good results, you go up and pick them up, I suppose.
Life is tough. Go in, find them out.
Oh, OK.
You win or you lose.
Well, let's cross to another school now. Jack Carson is in Lichfield for us. Jack, what's the scene there?
Well, lots of people have probably just gone off to party because there was lots of happy faces this morning. And what we saw at 8 o'clock was all these pings on phones as UCAS emailed everyone to let them know whether they'd got their first choice or their second choice placement. So before, lots of students here who had waited patiently for their envelope all summer to tell them what results they'd got, they'd already probably known whether they were going to get into university. So I think that helped settle the nerves just a little bit for a lot of people, that they thought whatever is in the envelope, I know I'm definitely going to the university that I wanted to go to. But here at the school, they've had a very successful day. They've got a 100% pass rate for all of their students in their A-levels. They've got around a quarter, or if not a little bit more, of students who have got A star or A. So they have been just absolutely fantastically excited at the prospect of so many of their students going on to university, going on to apprenticeships and other things. Some people going through the likes of clearing. We know that clearing hotlines are very, very busy today, have been since the morning, with some places being offered all the way from overnight last night to then continuing into today as well. Some of the most popular A-levels people have done today that have been getting results for include a lot of the STEM subjects, so things like mathematics, biology, chemistry. They're some of the top things that people have been studying. And as the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson pledges to try and close the attainment gap, we've seen the proportion of the top grades by region, and that gap has widened in the last year. So in the northeast, 22.9% of students got an A star or A. You look then further south to the likes of the southeast and London, you're coming up to 31.2% and even 32%. So that attainment gap is something which the Education Secretary says she wants to try and close. But here at the school today, so many happy students. We caught up with a few of them. Take a look.
Feels so great. Honestly, it was like everything I worked for, I just got in, and my mum was so happy, and it was just amazing, everything I wanted it to be. I was in the car, I was trying to get into UCAS. I mean, it's always crashes. And then I just got the email and it was like, you've got in. I was like, okay, well, that's all I needed to hear, because even if my results weren't what I wanted, as long as I've got in, I'm really happy with that. So.
And what's the last couple of years been like, studying them? We know these exams, get harder to do every year, that you have to put in so much work and give up so much of your free time to get, the grades that you've got today. So what have the last couple of years been like?
It's definitely been a mix of emotions, especially in the second year when stress levels get really high in the exam season, doubts start to come in, but in the end I feel like it's definitely worth it, all the stress, all the tears. Today I found out that I got into my uni of choice, and that's all that matters, and everything's worth it in the end, so yeah.
It took a lot of work, but happy with the results, but yeah, it's a lot of work to go into these results.
So what is next for you? What have you managed to secure? Is it university? Is it an apprenticeship? What are you up to next?
I made it into a university, made it into Lancaster to do mechanical engineering.
So as you can hear there, a lot of very happy students, certainly a lot of happy parents, a lot of dads crying their eyes out with happy tears that their son or daughter was off to start the next chapter. And of course, for many of them, today really is a final goodbye to their school, to their teachers as they go off to whatever they want to do in their adult lives. And just to say that 28.4% of boys got a star or A, compared to 28.2% of the girls. That's the first time the boys have got better top results since 2018. So one that many people, I'm sure, will be celebrating today.
Congratulations. Thank you very much, Jack, for bringing us those results from Litchfield. Good stuff. Now, our viewers always bring us straight back to earth, don't they? Rich has got in touch. My niece spent 4 years in university studying criminal justice. She now works in the Irish-themed bar in the town centre. 4 thumbs up for that one. There's some scepticism, I think, about university.
I think there is some scepticism about university. There are... Rory says, these kids got record A-levels, can't use a phone or string a sentence together.
Yes, that's another story, isn't it? How children are being taught to
I think that's unfair. The people that we just saw interviewed were very eloquent, and they definitely could string multiple sentences together. I mean, incontrovertible evidence there.
Yes, but apparently they're going to all get woke and bone idle at university, says Rebel without a cause. So there you go. This is Good Afternoon Britain on GBNews.
Comment section, lighten up. Have some joy in your heart for one miserable day.
They're just worrying about their futures, There's a lot of debt incurred by going to university, isn't there?
No, there isn't.
There is.
It's pretend debt. It's a higher tax rate. It's a higher tax rate.
Forever.
Until you pay it off. It's a higher tax rate when you graduate.
Some people have got 80 grand debt now.
It's a graduate tax. It's not a debt.
Yeah, but a tax is bad.
Yeah, taxes are bad. So yeah,
it's a debt. It accrues interest.
Well, it's not really.
It accrues interest. PAYE. It accrues interest.
Calling it a debt is a terrible way.
Anyway, a van displaying an altered image of US Vice President J.D. Vance drove through the English town of Charlbury yesterday, near where Vance and his family were holidaying. This is an interesting one, yes. Is this a fun protest or plain inappropriate?
Elsewhere, United Kingdom economic growth slowed down precipitously following, of course, those tax rises from the Chancellor. So what is the state of the economy and what does it mean for the next budget in the autumn? All to come after your headlines.
Hello, good afternoon. Your 60-second update at past. The man accused of driving into crowds at Liverpool football parade faces 24 new charges after appearing in court this morning. Paul Doyle is alleged to have injured 134 people. 6 of the new offences relate to children. Patients and staff have been evacuated from Guy's Hospital in central London after a chemical incident. Specialist hazardous material officers and rescue units are on scene. Crews are now ventilating the basement and ground floor while a large cordon remains in place. Well, as we were hearing, students across the country are opening their A-level, T-level and BTEC results today. UCAS says a record 226,000 people have got into their first choice university. That's 82% of offer holders. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says it's a steadying of the ship after the pandemic. Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed the Ukrainian president to Downing Street ahead of a summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin tomorrow. The Prime Minister says there is now a viable chance of a ceasefire. Leaders are pushing for stronger sanctions if Russia refuses to halt attacks. And economic growth has slowed to 0.3% between April and June, according to official figures. Chancellor Rachel Reeves says it's beaten expectations. And the Met Office is warning of torrential rain and lightning in the north, while southern England is still bracing for record temperatures up to 31 degrees this weekend. Those are the headlines for now. More news at 1.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very warm day today, not quite as hot as previous days, nevertheless warm everywhere, but that warmth setting off some showers, particularly across northern parts of the UK, and even some intense thunderstorms, particularly for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've got high pressure in charge, but some instability in the atmosphere is present, and that's allowing some cloud to build. So not entirely sunny, and the chance of 1 or 2 showers in places. However, it's eastern Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Northern Ireland, where there is that risk of intense thunderstorms, flashes of lightning, and localised flooding because of the rain rates. Where we do get some sunshine, particularly towards the south, it's going to be very warm, temperatures up to the mid to high 20s. And as we go into the evening, there's still that risk, as you can see, across parts of central and eastern Scotland of these intense downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be very hit and miss. Some places across Scotland will avoid the showers entirely, and Northern Ireland likewise, these intense showers developing, but always hit and miss. 1 or 2 showers also for Northern England as well as parts of Wales, but otherwise the cloud tending to fizzle away as the sun goes down, and overnight the showers will ease, with most places turning out dry by the early hours, and it's going to be a warm night for sleeping. There'll be areas of cloud here and there, particularly across the north and the east. North, the low cloud moving in by the end of the night, but clear spells for many as we wake up on Friday. A few mist patches here and there. They tend to lift quickly. And then it's a sunny day for much of England, Wales, western Scotland, Northern Ireland. But we do have this low cloud from the North Sea creeping into the east of Scotland and for parts of eastern England, particularly around North Sea beaches. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine elsewhere, another hot day is expected.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. There is a blockage on the A9 southbound between Daviot and Scatchrig due to a broken down vehicle. Please proceed with care. The M4 westbound from junction 45 Innisforgan to junction 46 Llangeflac is closed for structural inspections with diversions. The M56 westbound in Halton between junction 12 and junction 14 has 1 lane closed due to a broken down vehicle, causing delays. The A47 eastbound between the junctions with the A1064 and the A149 in Norfolk has all lanes closed due to an accident. And on the trains, there is disruption between Cheltenham Spa and Bristol Parkway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Well, today we learned that growth has slowed again in the United Kingdom, but it did beat its anemic forecasts. So, is this a win for the Chancellor?
Well, joining us now is the Professor of Economics and Public Policy, King's College London, Jonathan Portes, and the economist, Julian Jessup. Julian, we'll start with you. Is this a win for the Chancellor?
Yes, and it's not often I get to say that. I think the UK economy has proved more resilient than expected to 2 shocks. One was the impact of Trump's tariffs. I think actually that was the main reason why the economy slowed between the first and the second quarter. So lots of companies brought activity forward to the start of the year in order to beat those tariffs, and that effect went into reverse at the beginning of the April to June period. The other thing, though, is that the economy has proved more resilient than many people feared to the tax increases and other business costs that jumped in April. So by the end of the second quarter, the economy actually grew by 0.4% in the month of June alone. So I think she can claim this as a win. The problem, though, is that I don't think this tells us much positive about the rest of the year. There are already signs that that positive momentum is fading in the latest business and consumer surveys. The breakdown of the second quarter numbers wasn't great. It was led by government spending on consumption, not investment, and also some funny stuff happening in inventories, with underlying growth in things like consumer spending and business investment still weak. So it's good news in the headlines, but I still think the underlying picture looks quite fragile.
OK, let's throw this back to Jonathan Portes. Jonathan, is this, in your view, a bit of a sugar rush? Government spending pushing a lot of this growth, but with some fundamentally worrying signs looking ahead?
So to start with, I think Julian's analysis is almost exactly right. So I would just endorse what he said. The economy has proved reasonably resilient. I was just looking back at some GBNews headlines from the turn of the year about the wreathed recession and the jobs apocalypse and all the
the jobs figures have not been good, Jonathan. You can't argue that.
The jobs figures have been as expected. The labour market has slowed, but it certainly hasn't fallen off a cliff. And I'm just, as I say, I think Julian's right and your analysis is broadly right. But some of the sort of apocalyptic nonsense that we've heard over the last few months, including on this channel, I think is, we should remember some of the things that were said and perhaps looking forward, perhaps try and be a little more measured in what people say.
Okay.
But I do agree. I mean, you're right, Tom. The structural problems of the UK economy have not fundamentally changed from what they were 1 year ago or 10 years ago. We still deal with a lot of the same problems about the need for more investment, the need to build more houses, the need to...
And the house building figures very, very low indeed. Public investment up, private investment not really doing a lot from what I can see. But Jonathan, does this actually change the assessment for the October budget, for the autumn budget, maybe November? Does this change? Does this give the Chancellor any more money, or is it still going to be a painful budget?
I think Julian, I think, is shaking his head pessimistically, and I think the answer is it's probably not as bad. Again, earlier this week we had some projections from the National Institute, which of course I used to run, so I won't diss them, but I think the general consensus was they were a bit excessively gloomy, and I think today's figures suggest again that they were a bit excessively gloomy, but still it's not, it's not going to be wonderful. There still are clearly going to have to be tax rises in the budget.
Julian, I accept the desire not to want to talk down the economy, but seriously, should we be happy about these figures? I mean, it's not exactly the economy going good guns. Rachel Reeves promised us growth, growth, growth. We're hearing that we have more of a financial black hole than ever, huge amounts of debt. Growth 0.3% in the second quarter. Woohoo!
Yeah, OK, I'll inject a bit more negativity in then.
Well, I mean, just some realism here.
Yeah, it does look like we're going to head for growth of maybe nearer 1 and 1.5% this year. So a little bit better than anticipated, but that's still not strong enough to fix the black hole in the public finances. And it's certainly not enough, I think, to get hiring and investment back up again. Also, we're looking at the budget in the autumn. What really matters is what the Office for Budget Responsibility thinks is going to happen over the next 5 years, and in particular in the 5th year of the forecast horizon. And there are some signs that the OBR is becoming more pessimistic about the outlook for productivity in particular, which is probably the single most important number in determining the outlook for the economy over the next 5 years or so. So slightly better growth this year doesn't really help. Particularly as we would sort of hope that's starting to show through already in some other indicators, and it isn't. So business and consumer confidence is already stalling. The numbers we've had so far for July have been disappointing. And one of the things people are worried about, not just the pickup in inflation, but also they're increasingly worried about what's going to be in that autumn budget.
OK,
So
well, Julian, Jonathan, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but thanks so much for joining us and for your expert analysis on the state of the British economy.
Well, there we go. Well, if you have got a few pennies to rub together, here's the holiday forecast.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All clear travel insurance. sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
The summer heat wave continues across much of Europe, particularly inland France, Spain and Portugal, where we're likely to see temperatures in the mid to low 40s. And with these high temperatures, we are set to see plenty of sunshine, but slightly different story as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean. At times, this heat is likely to produce some quite heavy, if not thundery showers across parts of Italy. And that is set to continue over the weekend, and the hot temperatures are here to stay.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just gone 10 to 1. I'm getting ahead of myself. Well, last night, UEFA risked dragging itself into a political storm, displaying this banner before the Super Cup final last night.
Yes, it read, "Stop killing children, stop killing civilians." As you can see, it's very large indeed, and it was displayed in front of players before kick-off.
But under its own rules, UEFA states that the political messages can't be promoted in stadiums before, during or after matches.
OK, well, we're joined by sports journalist and author Mihir Bose. Mihir, thank you very much. Tell us, this has proven extremely controversial and quite upsetting to Jewish fans.
Well, it should be unsettling to all fans, because really
it's not UEFA's business as to what is happening in Gaza. Of course, they can have, as individuals, the people who run UEFA views on Gaza, and of course the views on Gaza differ, and one can have all sorts of views. But what this does is involve football into something which is not really football's business. And I think this is an increasing tendency among sports organizations to comment on issues of wider interest, of wider implications and revelations, because they feel they are world organizations. No, they're a football organization that run European football. And I must say, I was very surprised when I heard that they were going to unfurl these banners.
Now, of course, Spurs, who are hosting this game, is known to be a very, very Jewish club. Tottenham Hotspur, based in a Jewish part of London, associated with Jewish people. Some people are saying that sort of unfurling that banner and pointing it to the most Jewish football club in this country might be a targeted attack on Jewish people.
Yes, I mean, I'm a Tottenham fan, and I'm not Jewish, but I can understand Tottenham has a reputation for being a very Jewish club. It doesn't affect its football, it doesn't affect how it plays, though it does at times concede goals, which it did in the last 5 minutes, but that has nothing to do with Judaism or any religion. It's the way it defends and so on and so forth. We won't go into that. I'm still nursing my wounds. But the point is to unfurl a flag like this, not to be aware of what the club's origins are, shows UEFA doesn't know what it's football. It should know the football clubs where they come from. I mean, is there nobody in UEFA that tells them, hang on, this football club represents this sort of community? And to do something like that would be very provocative and considered an insult.
Absolutely. Mahir Bose, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Sports journalist and author, and also Tottenham fan. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain. We've got a lot more coming up on today's show. We're going to be speaking to Robert Jenrick, who's been in Calais and also has been accused of being a xenophobe, hasn't he?
He has. That's after the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very warm day today, not quite as hot as previous days, nevertheless warm everywhere, but that warmth setting off some showers, particularly across northern parts of the UK, and even some intense thunderstorms, particularly for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've got high pressure in charge, but some instability in the atmosphere is present, and that's allowing some cloud to build. So not entirely sunny, and the chance of one or two showers in places. However, it's eastern Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Northern Ireland, where there is that risk of intense thunderstorms, flashes of lightning, and localised flooding because of the rain rates. Where we do get some sunshine, particularly towards the south, it's going to be very warm. Temperatures up to the mid to high 20s. And as we go into the evening, there's still that risk, as you can see, across parts of central and eastern Scotland of these intense downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be very hit and miss. Some places across Scotland will avoid the showers entirely, and Northern Ireland likewise, these intense showers developing, but always hit and miss. One or two showers also for Northern England as well as parts of Wales, but otherwise the cloud tending to fizzle away as the sun goes down, and overnight the showers will ease, with most places turning out dry by the early hours, and it's going to be a warm night for sleeping. There'll be areas of cloud here and there, particularly across the north and the east. North, the low cloud moving in by the end of the night, but clear spells for many as we wake up on Friday. A few mist patches here and there. They tend to lift quickly. And then it's a sunny day for much of England, Wales, western Scotland, Northern Ireland. But we do have this low cloud from the North Sea creeping into the east of Scotland and for parts of eastern England, particularly around North Sea beaches. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine elsewhere, another hot day is expected.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
Now, the governing body of tennis, which is the Lawn Tennis Association, has been accused of effectively breaking the law.
Yes, that's after reports that they encouraged transgender people to participate in women's tournaments. Well, we're now joined by the former Olympic swimmer Sharon Davies to discuss this. Sharon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, just bring us up to date, because the LTA, I think in January, made what could have been seen as quite a positive decision to stop trans players, trans women, so biological men, from competing against women in the elite game. But tell us what's different about the amateur game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important that we do use the correct language, because they're not banning anyone. They're just stopping biological males from competing against biological females. It's really that simple. And what's very frustrating is that basically they're saying, if you're really good, we're going to give you fair and safe sport. If you're not quite so good, we're not going to give you fair and safe sport. I mean, what a ludicrous situation that we're actually in. And as you say, I mean, it's been 100 days now since the Supreme Court ruling. It made it absolutely clear that a women's event means that it's a women's event only if it has biological females in it. If it has any form of man in it, no matter how they got to call themselves, what they want to wear, then it's a mixed sex event. So, you know, they're encouraging local clubs, you know, to not actually follow the law, to not give fair sport to pathways, to recreational, to juniors. You know, these people now are just expected to have unfair sport. And how do we get the elites if we don't make sure that the way forward and the way through is fair? And this is not just tennis. You know, golf is bad too. We still have 30 sports in the UK that don't protect the female category, including things like taekwondo, would you believe, and gymnastics.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Thursday, the 14th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
I've just spent 48 hours in northern France. I wanted to see what's going on up close.
I'm Robert. I'm from England. Why do you want to go to England?
Yes, the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick posts a cinematic video of his experience observing migrants and people smugglers in northern France as protests outside migrant hotels continue at home.
Tomorrow, Donald Trump will meet with Vladimir Putin for crunch peace talks. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer has welcomed the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy to number 10.
In the past hour, number 10 has said that Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Keir Starmer believe there's a viable chance of peace as long as Putin takes action to prove he's serious about peace.
And a big congratulations! Top A-level results have reached a record high today, despite some attempts to curb grade inflation. Some are children getting cleverer, or exams getting easier.
Now, an Islamic summer camp accused of backing Iran has been cancelled after claims it would or could expose children to extremist views. But they say there's no evidence of wrongdoing and attacking them is Islamophobia in plain sight. We'll discuss that.
Elsewhere, a van displaying an altered image of US Vice President J.D. Vance drove through the English town of Charlbury yesterday, near where Vance and his family are holidaying. Is this a fun protest or just inappropriate?
So the intent behind this JD Vance meme face,
Yeah.
you know, where they've photoshopped his face to look bald and chubby and silly, is that they're saying, look, we've got free speech in the UK because we can show this meme, we can drive this van criticising this political leader. Does that mean we've got free speech?
No, it doesn't, because that's quite popular speech.
It reminds me of...
Among some people.
...of an old joke that Ronald Reagan used to make.
Oh, yes.
Which goes a bit like
You've
this.
heard firsthand.
Which I never heard firsthand, sadly. Our lives overlapped by, I think, about 7... No, when did Ronald Reagan die? 2005. So I was on this planet for at least 11 or 12 years while Ronald Reagan was, but never met the man. Anyway, that's a by the by.
We're so blessed for it.
He used to tell all these old Soviet jokes. It was like, in America, we have freedom of speech. We can go up to our president and say, Mr. President, I don't like the way you're running our country. And the Soviet person he was talking to would go, well, that's completely true. We have freedom of speech in the Soviet Union too. We can also go up to the American president and say into his face, Mr. President, we don't like the way you're running your country. And it reminded me of that because we're criticising, or it's a van criticising, a foreign leader who is unpopular in this country. It doesn't mean that we've got free speech. A contentious piece of speech would have been more useful to put on the side of that van.
Yeah, it's hardly Charlie Hebdo, is it?
Well, exactly. If there was a big portrait or a cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, just see how quickly that van driver would be arrested.
Well, quite. But there are these silly protests about JD Vance, these activists all grouping to say, you don't belong in the United Kingdom, you should go home. Ooh, that's telling him.
It seems a bit self-defeating, seeing as he's clearly one of the most pro-British vice presidents that the United States has had in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they expect to achieve. I think it's just a fun activity, isn't it, for some people?
I guess
on a nice August day, nice trip to the Cotswolds.
Why not? Well, much more to come, including that interview with Robert Jenrick after your latest news headlines.
Hello from the newsroom. A very good afternoon to you. Just after 1 o'clock, the top story this lunchtime, a man accused of driving into crowds during Liverpool's Premier League victory parade now faces a further 24 charges. Paul Doyle is alleged to have driven into fans on the 26th of May, injuring 134 people. He was previously charged with 7 offences, including wounding and grievous bodily harm with intent, plus dangerous driving. 6 of the new offences relate to children, including one 6-month-old and a 7-month-old. The 53-year-old is due at Liverpool Crown Court today, and his trial is now set for the 24th of November. That is expected to last for 4 weeks. Around 150 people, including patients and staff, were this morning evacuated from Guy's Hospital in central London after a chemical incident there. The London Fire Brigade was called just before 9 a.m, sending specialist officers, fire engines and rescue units to the scene. Crews have been ventilating the basement and the ground floor while a large cordon remains in place. No injuries have been reported so far, and the evacuation is understood to have been precautionary. Sir Keir Starmer has rolled out the red carpet for Volodymyr Zelenskyy at Downing Street today as Europe is bracing for Donald Trump's high-stakes meeting with the Russian president tomorrow in Alaska. The Prime Minister said that Britain stands ready to increase pressure on Russia if it rejects a ceasefire, with further sanctions already being prepared. He praised Mr Trump for creating a viable chance to end the war, but reiterated that talks on Ukraine's future should not happen without its involvement. It comes after Trump has already threatened very severe consequences if Vladimir Putin rejects a ceasefire.
If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelenskyy and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Top A-level results across England, Wales and Northern Ireland have risen, while a record number of students have also been accepted into their first choice university. Hundreds of thousands of students are receiving results today, with boys outperforming girls in terms of top A-level grades. That's for the first time in 7 years. Fewer students took A-levels this year, while T-levels in England grew in popularity, but dropout rates remain high. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says the results show a steadying of the ship after the pandemic. The UK economy grew by 0.3% in April and June, slower than the first quarter but stronger than expected, according to official ONS figures. That growth was driven by a rise in services and a boost in construction, while production fell. The Chancellor says the UK is now the fastest growing economy in the G7 for the first half of this year, and she says the numbers are encouraging.
Today's numbers show that the economy beat expectations in the second quarter of this year. We are the fastest growing economy in the G7 for the first half of this year, with a GDP growth of 0.3% this quarter, and that's after GDP growth of 0.7% the quarter before that. Look, I recognise there's still more to do to make sure that people in all parts of the country benefit from that growth.
And the Met Office has issued a yellow thunderstorm alert for northern Scotland until at least 10 o'clock tonight, with flood warnings also in place. But the UK is still enduring its fourth heat wave of the summer. Heat health alerts have been extended right into next week for much of England, covering regions from Yorkshire to London and the southwest. Officials also warn England is now facing nationally significant water shortfalls, with parts of the country still in drought. That is your lunchtime news from GB News. I'll be back in half an hour. Now, though, it's over to Tom and Emily.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
But not before a look at the lunchtime markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3581 and €1.1622. The price of gold is £2,471 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,159 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 1. Now, the Shadow Justice Secretary, Robert Jenrick, has accused French police of failing to act after reporting dozens of migrants with life jackets preparing to cross the Channel.
Yes, so in a video shared online by Robert Jenrick, he films his time visiting the migrant camps, where he's also attacked with glass bottles.
I've just spent 48 hours in northern France. I wanted to see what's going on up close.
We've been in and around this beach now for a couple of hours and we haven't seen any police present. Zero, zilch.
It's just after 4 o'clock in the morning. We know that the migrants are just over there. At daybreak, we find the migrants have gone. We don't know where. There's still no sign.
Chris Potter, okay. Well, they're a flavour of the cinematic scenes that we've been treated to by the Shadow Justice Secretary, who I'm delighted to say joins us in the studio now. Robert, thanks for being with us.
Good to be here.
Firstly, what did you expect to see when you went out there to Calais?
Well, I've been following this issue for a long time, but even I was shocked by what I saw, in particular by the fact that the French, to whom we're giving £800 million a year and just given a state visit to their president, are basically aiding and abetting the migrants. I literally saw migrants walking down a highway holding life jackets. No one did anything. I saw them getting on a public bus. No one stops them. I mean, imagine if you're getting on the bus and 40 or 50 migrants holding life jackets got on. Not exactly subtle. I even saw police cars go past and look at them and didn't do anything. And then in the morning, at daybreak, at Dunkirk Beach, when I knew they were very likely heading to that beach or another one, I phoned the police in France because I thought, I've got to do something. I've got to stop these people getting into our country. And the French did absolutely nothing. The operator on the phone said, oh, that's terribly interesting. I'll pass it on. But to be honest, the police probably aren't going to come. That is what we're getting in return for the millions of pounds, the effort that Keir Starmer is supposedly doing to smash the gangs. I think it's a total disgrace. And we should not be relying on the kindness of strangers, on another country, to secure our borders. We need our own deterrent. We need to be detaining and deporting each and every one of these people.
Well, you try and find out where this money is going, and you can't really find out where this money is going, where it's being spent, who it's being spent by, and for what outcome. That information just isn't there for the public to see, Robert.
Well, I went to a migrant camp, probably the largest and most dangerous one, which Patrick Christie has reported for GB News from. No police presence whatsoever. It's a totally lawless space. It's dark, it's dangerous, people are getting stabbed, people are getting shot there. No French police whatsoever. I follow the migrants down the road onto a bus, walking through the centre of Dunkirk, a busy town, no police presence. I spent hours on the beach at Dunkirk, and in fact the night before at Gravelines, I didn't see a single police officer the whole time.
We're paying for nothing.
We're paying for absolutely nothing. The worst thing of all, though, is the French obviously know what's going on. Of course they know that the migrants are there with their life jackets. The migrants that I tracked for hours, they spent the night in a sort of hiding place in some woods by a cemetery close to the beach. After I'd given up trying to get the police to come to the beach, I went back to the hiding place about an hour after the migrants had left, and already the bin men from Dunkirk were there clearing up the detritus that the migrants had left. It was just another day to them. They obviously go there every morning, knowing exactly that the migrants will have been hidden there, expecting that, clear up the mess. But they can clear up the mess, but they can't clear out the migrants.
No arrests, but clean streets.
Perhaps we should charge the bin men with arresting the migrants. But this does perhaps get to a big problem of this. There are miles and miles and miles of coastline. Is it ever going to be reasonable to say that these people can be stopped on the beaches by the French? Should we just give up sending our money their way for these patrols, just given the stretch of that coastline? Even if, in the best will in the world, if the French were really keen to stop every single person there, they just wouldn't have the capacity.
No, I disagree, Tom. The French could stop this tomorrow if they wanted to, and I think my video has proven that. I went to a camp and I saw a gang marshalling migrants out and down the road. I followed them. I followed them into Dunkirk. I saw them in their hiding hole. It is not that difficult to understand this problem. At the end of the day, you've got jumped-up gangsters in a camp and you've got rubber dinghies. This is not such a uniquely difficult and challenging issue. But the point I think you do, the point you are right on, is that we should not be relying on the French to fix this. The French are never going to fix this. The French are using the UK as a dumping ground for illegal migrants that they don't want. We have to step up and take responsibility. And the tragedy of the present situation is that we know how to fix this. The answer has been clear to us for a long time. It's ultimately why I resigned from the cabinet. Change your laws, get out of these outdated international accords like the ECHR, and deport each and every one of these migrants. If we did that, this whole racket, the camps, the crime, the hotels, the billions of pounds, it could all be ended.
Robert Jenrick, why didn't the previous government, the Conservatives, nip this in the bud when they had the chance to? Talking now about removing ourselves from various conventions and the ECHR, etc., etc., a lot of people will agree with you, of course. But the charge is always there. Why wasn't this done previously?
Well, I share that frustration. That's why I chose to leave the last government, because I could see the answer to the problem.
But why couldn't you get that across, Robert, when there must have been many a person in the Conservative
There were
Party
many people who shared my view. In fact, when I went onto the backbenches, there was 60 Conservative MPs who supported me when I campaigned to strengthen, not scrap, the Rwanda policy. But look, we are where we are. What we've got to do now is try to fix this. In fact, it's beyond party politics. The impact of this on our country is immense. Look at the hotels, the harm that's causing. I'm worried as a father about the violence, particularly the sexual crimes that are being committed by some illegal migrants. What we've got to do now is fix this problem once and for all. And I think we know how to do that.
You wrote powerfully about how worried you are for your family, for your children, for your daughters. Radio 4 has a segment every morning. They call it Thought for the Day. It's a bit it's a bit of preaching, usually from a religious perspective, to the general public. And yet earlier this week, they decided to preach that you were xenophobic in your comments. Now, the BBC have subsequently apologised for that. The version online has had the xenophobe accusation cut out. But what did you think when you first heard that?
Well, the accusation, the smear, was that anyone who is worried about the safety of their children because of illegal migrants coming into their communities and committing crimes is a racist, essentially. I think that's totally wrong. I think those people are just good parents. When I see the protests outside the hotels, and I've been to visit Fareham, I've been to Altrincham, I've been to Diss to speak to members of the public, I just see fair-minded, patriotic people who are worried about their communities being destroyed. And factually, that programme was also wrong, because there is a link between illegal migration and crime. We see that every day in some of these individuals who are being charged with sexual offences. There's been 2 individuals charged as a result of crimes committed by migrants at the hotel in Epping. And
of course, they deny the claims.
Well, they do, absolutely. These are allegations at this stage, but the allegations are mounting up just in the last 2 months. Think of the numbers of allegations that have come forward, of rapes, of attempted kidnappings. This is wrong. And I come to this from a very simple principle, that if I don't want this for my young girls, if I don't want these men hanging outside their school gates or in the playgrounds that they use, why should I force this on anybody else?
Does it bother you being called a xenophobe?
I'm used to. I am used
You've
to.
just gotten used to it.
I'm now used to people insulting me. I'm not going to be squeamish about raising these issues. I don't think any of us should be. I think a lot of people in Westminster and in our media elite are totally out of touch with the concerns of working people across this country, and it's on us. GB News is an amazing broadcaster in this respect. It's on us to raise those concerns on behalf of the public.
Is this something that you discussed with JD Vance earlier this week? Reportedly, you, a number of Conservative colleagues, notably not the leader of the Conservative Party, but some in the shadow cabinet and some in the backbenches, were meeting with JD Vance. What did you discuss?
Well, we had a good meeting. It was very kind of him to give us time whilst he was here on holiday. It wouldn't be fair for me to say what we discussed, but it was broadly what you would imagine. It was the situation in Ukraine, immigration, freedom of speech, the concerns about, for example, this definition that the Labour government is bringing forward around Islamophobia, and what's the future of the Conservative Party, and how can we work together to get a centre-right government after the next election. I was very impressed by JD Vance. I thought he was somebody of, real intelligence who thought very deeply about the challenges facing our country.
Why do you think Kemi Badenoch wasn't there?
Well, she, I think, said that her diary just didn't align, but I think there was a statement put out by JD Vance's team to say that they did want to meet. So,
if you had a diary clash, I think she was on the Isle of Wight pulling ice creams, would you have prioritised the ice cream or the meeting with the Vice President?
Well, they've met before. She met with JD Vance, I think, just before Christmas in Washington. So they know each other well, and they worked together, in fact, when she was the Trade Secretary. So
would you have made that decision?
Well, she has a very busy diary. She's the leader of the opposition. She's met him a number of times, and as I understand, they've got a good working relationship.
Not quite an answer there.
Well, I can only go off the public record, and I think they just couldn't make it work. But as I understand it, they really wanted to meet. So I'm sure they will do in the future.
OK. Robert Jenrick, thank you so much for coming in. Glad to see you safe on British soil.
Thank you very much for having me.
Shadow Justice Secretary. All these men off to Calais.
Absolutely. Well,
stay safe.
Who's next, I suppose, is the question mark. But the BBC did say in response to that slight scandal earlier in the week, whilst its reflection on fear in society from a faith perspective is broadly in line with expectations of thought for the day, some of the language it used went beyond that, and we apologise for its inclusion. That from the BBC.
OK, well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up. An Islamic summer camp has been accused of backing Iran, and it's been cancelled after claims that it could expose children to extremist views. But they say there is no evidence of wrongdoing, and attacking them as Islamophobia in plain sight. We'll discuss.
But after the break, congratulations, top A-level results have reached a record high today, despite attempts to curb grade inflation. So, are the children just getting smarter year on year, or are the exams a bit easier?
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word. Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me next Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 24 minutes past 1, and joining us now is our political editor, Christopher Hope, with some breaking news.
That's right. So we've seen earlier on the channel how Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Keir Starmer met in 10 Downing Street. We now have quotes about what happened. The top line is this. It looks like Zelenskyy and Starmer are saying that there's a chance here, to viable chance to make progress towards peace as long as Vladimir Putin takes action to prove he's serious about peace. That's tomorrow in this summit in Alaska. So clearly all eyes now on the summit in Alaska between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. But we have now some words out from this meeting. It's all about the optics. The 3-second embrace outside Downing Street was really for the cameras. Of course, we know that these two men are very closely aligned, but they want to make sure that Putin and Trump have seen that. 30 countries yesterday on a phone call with Vance and Donald Trump. It's all eyes on this meeting tomorrow. 8:30 p.m. it starts on GB News. We'll be covering it, of course. That's when the summit starts. And then a press conference. Just 2 interpreters, the 2 individuals in the room. A huge moment tomorrow.
Is Keir Starmer in these conversations representing Europe as a whole, do you reckon? Or is he representing Britain alone?
I think it's a great question. I think Europe, I mean, he sees himself as the bridge between Europe and Ukraine and Donald Trump. We have this strange kind of position where we face towards the US and the European Union. And in fact, that battle of where do we jump has been fought out for the past 60 years in our politics. Do we go towards the EU or towards the US? And that's where he sees
And he
himself.
says we can do both.
Well,
and always has
and
done.
Can you? You see,
and can you?
Because we're seeing in the trade arrangements we're trying to getting too close to the European Union, maybe at the expense of deals elsewhere. So you can't really do both. You've got to make a choice. But it seems in this point that RPM is the bridge between those two.
Now, do we know how long Volodymyr Zelenskyy is going to stay in this country? I mean, no doubt there will be a huge amount of international interest in what he has to say upon the conclusion of this meeting on Friday. Do we know his travel plans?
We don't. We think he may have left the country by now. They have agreed, that's Keir Starmer and Zelenskyy, to stay in close touch in coming days. So the response tomorrow night to what happens in that live press conference, and that's all about vibes, all about who's shaking hands, who's holding hands for longest. We know how these things matter so much. A major meeting, the first time we've seen the two leaders of Russia and US to meet since 2018. Meeting on US soil, that's a big moment because, of course, he's a pariah to us. I mean, we heard earlier from Number 10 on Monday, they're saying they couldn't trust Vladimir Putin as far as we could throw him. I mean, that's quite an undiplomatic terms to use about a world leader.
And Vladimir Putin talking about how Donald Trump is energetic and sincere in his diplomatic efforts to secure a ceasefire.
Yes.
He's being very positive about what's going on, but I guess it will come down to whether we can find a result.
Well, the deal is, I mean, the Kremlin's briefing this morning that they want the pair to discuss the huge untapped potential of US-Russia ties. That's the economic story. That's Russia needs help with its economy. The US, though, what they will want to talk about peace and what that means. Will the Donbass be traded for a peace deal? We have made, for our part, we make clear in the UK, we will not accept a deal that's not acceptable to Ukraine, and Ukraine want to return to the pre-invasion borders.
Well, let's hope. Oh, sorry, go on.
Well, no, I mean, that is incredibly difficult to imagine. Because, I mean, the pre-invasion borders include Crimea. Now, Crimea's
I think that's off the table.
It looks off the table, and yet remember that bridge that the Russians built and have now rebuilt 2 or 3 times, connecting mainland Russia to Crimea, that the Ukrainians have seen as this massive symbolic piece of infrastructure to bomb repeatedly throughout the course of this war. I mean, it would be huge for the Ukrainians to give up Crimea.
They may have to. I mean, I think we're talking about pre-2019, not pre-2014. The big issue, though, of course, is what is the future like? Will peace be guaranteed? Will it be by UK troops on the ground? What is the coalition of the willing? It's gone quite quiet since the Lancaster House summit in February. And what will the US do? Is the price Ukraine involvement in NATO? Russia won't accept that. EU, Russia won't accept that. Lots of question marks, and it will move forward very quickly, possibly tomorrow.
Well, we'll have to keep a close eye on it. Christopher Hope, for now, thanks indeed for bringing us that very latest from Downing Street.
Thank you very much. Well, it is also today a very important day for lots of teenagers around the country because it's A-levels and thousands of teenagers are receiving their grades across England, Wales and Northern Ireland.
Well, joining us now is maths teacher and author Bobby Seagull. Bobby, thanks so much for being with us. It's always a tense day for children across the country. I do have this one question, though. The number of A's and A stars has gone up again. Are exams getting easier?
Good afternoon, Tom and Emily. So, again, firstly, I want to say big congratulations to all students, teachers and parents who are celebrating, hopefully, good results today. So I'll say this is down to a few things. One is, if you look at the last 5, 10, 15 years, there's actually a structural reason for exam results going up. It's actually because the number of students doing things like maths and physics, where there are a higher number of A's and A stars awarded, is going up. So in fact, maths A-level is the most popular subject in A-level, more than 100,000 students. So that is part of the reason. And we're seeing fewer students doing arts and humanities. And then secondly, I think, if you want to give credit to the education sector, I think teachers generally understand the syllabus and curriculum really well. Gaming the system is not maybe the right word, but teachers know how to help students prepare for exams. And in terms of the information out there, you look at TikTok and Instagram, there are so many accounts out there giving students tips and guidance on how to get the A or how to get the A star, how to tweak the way you write in an exam.
I'm a little bit uneasy about that, though, because, I mean, I think a lot of people agreed that the quality and the standards in our schools rose from 2010 to 2020, that pandemic year. And as that standard of teaching rose, and I think everyone can say the standard of our schools went up over that period, actually there was a slight decrease in the proportion of people getting A's and A stars over the course of that period too. It only has gone up after the pandemic. I wonder, can we always say that there is a correlation here between good teaching and a large number of A and A star grades? So
I also think, again, when the new curriculums have come in, it takes a while for students students and teachers to get used to it. So often, sometimes if you see the A's and A stars dip a tiny bit, it's most likely because they've had a new curriculum, new scheme of learning, a new syllabus. And again, once teachers and students get used to it, you'll see those grades ticking up. Although one thing I do want to raise, I was looking at the sort of breakdown of grades in the country, is there was a gap between A's and A stars in London, our capital, and A's and A stars in the northeast. And I think the figure was 32% of grades in London were A and A star, whereas in the northeast it's 23%. That's a 9 percentage point gap. So I know the previous government were talking about levelling up, and as an educator, I think we need to make sure that everyone, whether you're a student in London or whether you're a student in the northeast of England, you get the same opportunity to get the A and A star. But clearly at the moment, it isn't the case.
And good teaching can be transformative at a local level, at a school level, in a classroom. Just, you know, a change of teacher can make a drastic difference in outcomes. But if 28.3% of people are now getting A stars and A's, how do you differentiate between the cream of the cream? The creme of the creme. You know what I mean? How do you differentiate between the very most able?
I get you, Emily. So this is one of the big dilemmas in the education sector, because obviously we want students to do as well as they can, and as many students getting A's and A stars. But the difficulty then becomes, one is for universities. How do they distinguish between excellent and good candidates, and perhaps the ones maybe are not as good? Makes it more difficult. And also then for employers, when people have gone to university and they're trying to distinguish between candidates, they're looking at a set of grade cards, and if everyone's getting the same grade, not everyone, but lots of good students, it makes it more difficult for them to distinguish. Again, for the exam board, Ofqual, who set the grade boundaries, by having too many students, as it were, inverted commas, getting the top grades, it can mean that it actually shoots or students in the foot, because when they're applying, examiners or exam boards or employers rather will say we can't tell the difference between different candidates.
Yeah, absolutely. Bobby Seagull, congratulations to you and other teachers around the country. Fantastic results again. Bobby Seagull, maths teacher and author there.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's programme, including this. A van displaying an altered image, an edited image of the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance, drove through the English town of Charlbury yesterday, near where Vance is holidaying, of course, with his family. Now, this was trying to say that, well, look, the UK has free speech, despite what Vance claims. But does it say something entirely different?
But after the break, an Islamic summer camp accused of backing Iran has now been cancelled after claims that it could expose children to extremist views. They say there's no evidence of wrongdoing, and attacking them is Islamophobia in plain sight. We'll discuss that next after your headlines.
Hello, very good afternoon to you. The top stories at 1:30, rather. The man accused of driving into crowds at a Liverpool football parade faces 24 new charges after appearing in court this morning. Paul Doyle is alleged to have injured 134 people. 6 of the new offences relate to children. Patients and staff have been evacuated from Guy's Hospital in central London after a chemical incident there. Specialist officers and rescue units have been on scene today, and crews are ventilating the basement and ground floor. A large cordon is also still in place. Students across the country are opening their A-levels, T-level and B-Tech results today. UCAS says a record 226,000 18-year-olds have got their first choice of university. Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson says it's a steadying of the ship after the pandemic. Sir Keir Starmer has welcomed the Ukrainian president to Downing Street ahead of a major summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin tomorrow. The Prime Minister says there is now a viable chance of a ceasefire, but EU leaders are pushing for stronger sanctions if Russia refuses to halt attacks. Economic growth in the UK has slowed to 0.3% between April and June, according to official figures. The Chancellor says the figures beat expectations and that the UK is the fastest growing economy in the G7 so far this year. And the Met Office is warning of torrential rain, lightning and hail in the north. But in South England, it's bracing for temperatures of up to 31 degrees this weekend, and there are extended heat alerts. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back with your news at 2.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very warm day today, not quite as hot as previous days, nevertheless warm everywhere, but that warmth setting off some showers, particularly across northern parts of the UK, and even some intense thunderstorms, particularly for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've got high pressure in charge, but some instability in the atmosphere is present, and that's allowing some cloud to build. So not entirely sunny, and the chance of one or two showers in places. However, it's eastern Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Northern Ireland, where there is that risk of intense thunderstorms, flashes of lightning, and localised flooding because of the rain rates. Where we do get some sunshine, particularly towards the south, it's going to be very warm, temperatures up to the mid to high 20s. And as we go into the evening, there's still that risk, as you can see, across parts of central and eastern Scotland of these intense downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be very hit and miss. Some places across Scotland will avoid the showers entirely, and Northern Ireland likewise, these intense showers developing, but always hit and miss. One or two showers also for Northern England as well as parts of Wales, but otherwise the cloud tending to fizzle away as the sun goes down, and overnight the showers will ease, with most places turning out dry by the early hours, and it's going to be a warm night for sleeping. There'll be areas of cloud here and there, particularly across the north and the east. North, the low cloud moving in by the end of the night, but clear spells for many as we wake up on Friday. A few mist patches here and there. They tend to lift quickly. And then it's a sunny day for much of England, Wales, western Scotland, Northern Ireland. But we do have this low cloud from the North Sea creeping into the east of Scotland and for parts of eastern England, particularly around North Sea beaches. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine elsewhere, another hot day is expected.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There are traffic issues this afternoon. On the M8 westbound between junctions 15 and 16, a broken down vehicle has closed lane 3. In Wales, an accident on the A55 westbound at junction 18 near Llandudno. Junction has local diversions causing delays. In Devon, a broken down vehicle has closed one of 2 lanes on the A30, leading to 40-minute delays. In Warwickshire, the M6 southbound between junctions 4 and 3 is closed due to a vehicle fire. And on the trains, cross-country services between Cheltenham Spa and Bristol Parkway are disrupted, and East Midlands Railway has buses replacing trains between Boston and Skegness. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
OK, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1:39. I'm going to remove this bottle from the desk. How unprofessional is that?
Well, we thought we'd get into some of your comments. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved throughout the programme, of course.
Yes, and I will look at the comments. And we have Kez here who says, Robert Jenrick. We spoke to Robert Jenrick because he went off to Calais and to shine a light on the migrant crisis over there. And also he was called a xenophobe in a BBC radio segment, Thought of the Day, which they've now deleted or edited to remove that word. Kez says Robert Jenrick is right to be worried about his daughters. We're all very concerned about the safety of women and girls and the increase in crime and rapes. Fair enough, yes. He said that he wasn't too bothered about being called a xenophobe. He said he'll continue to speak out on these types of issues.
Now, of course, people have been getting in touch about the exam results as well.
Yes.
Richard says either we've bred a generation of Einsteins, unlikely, or exams have got easier. He says he's not criticising the current generation. They are amazing, but if he's correct, we're not doing them any favours. And I think that is the point. I mean, if we had the same proportion of people getting A's and A stars each and every year, then it's actually a benefit to the kids who deserve those grades, because you'll be able to differentiate them between them far better.
Oh, absolutely. I remember my uncle, he got out of his garage this old piece of paper. And it was an old French O-level paper that he took back in the day, years and years and years and years ago. And I must admit it was a little bit more tricky than the GCSE that I had done. Yes, definitely.
The
translations were far harder.
Yeah.
The vocabulary you had to have was more advanced.
It wasn't just a rote learning, because one of the things I think about language GCSEs very regularly, you just learn some set phrases and you get your A.
Yes. Yes. You're a guy with a football, yeah.
Is that Russian?
Yes, I play football.
Amazing, amazing. Well, do get involved with your
If there are any
A-level
Russians
results.
listening, sorry if I butchered that.
Da.
Конечно. Anyway, should we move on? Because this is a story that's appeared today. An Islamic summer camp for children has been cancelled following claims it could expose attendees to extremist views.
Well, the camp organised by the Al-Bayat Islamic Mission charity had planned outdoor activities alongside lectures on Islamic values.
Yes, concerns have been raised by MPs, coupled with warnings from security officials about the potential for Iran's influence in the UK, leading to the camp being cancelled.
Well, the charity denies extremist links, describing the camp as a positive space for young people to enjoy the outdoors and strengthen their faith.
Well, we're joined by lawyer Mahtab Aziz on this one. Mahtab, thank you very much for joining us. So this camp, they've decided, that's run by this charity, they've decided to cancel it because there's been quite a lot of backlash. What do you understand's happened here?
Sure. Hi, Tom and Emily. Great to be on your programme. You must excuse my audacity for not having my tie on because it was so hot today. Now, regarding this Islamic mission, first of all, I think we need to establish that no evidence has been put forward to actually substantiate any of the claims. I think where the charity's gone wrong is actually to express any form of political allegiance, and in this case, particularly Iran. That probably is a mistake on their part, and they shouldn't have done it. And of course, at the same time, I have to say there are many other Islamic summer camps, many other Jewish summer camps, and none of them, have had this sort of issue raised. It is something which obviously can be remedied in the future.
Yeah, I mean, the accusations in the reports on this story are that the charity has been accused of backing Iran's theocratic regime, and also in posts on social media praising the Ayatollah Khomeini, describing his books as a great read. Also, it said that the charities refused to condemn Hamas, for example, and saying that Zionists brought this disaster upon themselves in the wake of October the 7th. Those are the accusations.
Yes, I think, as I said, I think it's always going to be problematic if you support the Iranian regime. As we all know, they have taken part in global influence, particularly supporting the al-Bashir regime, which obviously, in my view and most other people's view, is wrong. And I think it is, not the job of a charity to support any regime like that.
There's always a difficult balance here, isn't there, with the sort of idea of what this country stands for in terms of values of liberalism, of free speech, of toleration, and sometimes that can come up against itself in a funny sort of way. If you believe in equal rights and free speech, that sort of says that you should allow theocratic summer camps that don't believe in those values to then take place. It's almost as if those values are in contradictions over this case.
Well, I had mentioned before, there are many other Islamic summer camps and many other Jewish summer camps, and they got along fine. I think it's just that this particular charity, this particular Islamic mission, happened to have sent out tweets supporting the Ayatollah and supporting the Iranian regime, which I think has aroused a lot of suspicion. And I must emphasize that no evidence actually has been found of any radicalization. So I think it's probably something which hopefully the mission should be able to rectify for the future.
I mean, would you agree with Lord Wolney, he's the former government advisor on extremism, that this camp, he says, organised by a group sympathetic to Iran's extreme theocracy, it's right that it's not going ahead. There was a clear risk of kids being indoctrinated. Would you say that Lord Wolney's gone too far there?
Well, as I said, I think to make that sort of comment, you'd have to have some really concrete evidence to suggest that the children are being radicalised. And I think in the face of the fact that there is no evidence whatsoever, I think that would be going too far.
It's an interesting one, but Marteb Aziz, lawyer, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through this particular case. I suppose it's not going to be much different to what a lot of people will be hearing in mosques in this country anyway. Just because it's a summer camp doesn't mean it's particularly different. If there's a deeper issue...
Well, the concern is children, isn't it?
Children go to mosques.
And the lack of scrutiny, perhaps. Anyway, a spokesperson for the charity has said they cancelled the camp because of fears of threats to families and children taking part, adding that there's no evidence of wrongdoing ever been found at Camp Wilaya, yet our children are being punished simply for their faith. Not only is this despicable behaviour, but it is Islamophobia in plain sight, and it should alarm every member of society.
Well, lots more to come in today's programme. Perhaps you're looking to travel abroad, maybe not quite as far as Iran. Here's some of the forecasts for the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The summer heat wave continues across much of Europe, particularly inland France, Spain and Portugal, where we're likely to see temperatures in the mid to low 40s. And with these high temperatures, we are set to see plenty of sunshine, but slightly different story as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean. At times, this heat is likely to produce some quite heavy, if not thundery showers across parts of Italy. And that is set to continue over the weekend, and the hot temperatures are here to stay.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's been an exceptional event, Dawn. Armed Forces Day, raising money for veterans and their families.
Johnny, well done.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you. It's been exceptional, really. I've got a lovely medal, which is another big win for the team. I just want to bring in Nick and Amanda. Amanda here is a veteran of the Australian Navy. She's married to Nick, who's a serving Royal Navy officer. How are you feeling, Amanda? Great success. Well done.
My legs are hurting, but I'm so happy that we've been here today. It's just been so much fun, it really has, and for such a great cause.
And this is a charity you both support very closely, Nick.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the armed forces protect the nation. SAPA protects the armed forces. We're really happy to be out today. It's been a super reception right the way along the route. Loads of lovely people out today, so it's been good fun. Sore legs.
And both of you met through the Navy, of course. It's an exciting armed forces love story. It must be wonderful for you to both give back to the armed forces community today.
Absolutely, and we will never stop giving back. You know, we're Matlows at heart. I'm a veteran. I work for an aerospace and defence company who are going to match our donations that we raise, and it's just really exciting. So we'll always keep giving back.
And Nick, for you, you're still serving, but you must have such a close connection with our veterans community as well. Many people you must have known on this walk here today, over 1,200.
Yes.
How does it feel still serving in the Royal Navy, seeing how many members of the armed forces continue to support veterans and their families?
I think you never leave the armed forces. You never leave it, and it's lovely to see that the relationships that you form in service continue after. And you know, we work very hard to stay connected to all of our old shipmates and people that we've worked with for many years and sort of sat alongside in some odd places around the world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's just gone 10 to 2. Now a van displaying an altered image of the US Vice President JD Vance drove through the English town of Charlbury yesterday, near where Vance and his family were holidaying.
Who was driving it? Do we know? Is it some kind of activist group?
The group themselves are a group that go around talking a lot about Elon Musk and putting up posters about him. They're sort of one of these activist groups that have come to a slight bit of notoriety here in the United Kingdom in recent months.
So they're probably very angry about X. They're very angry about... the group is called Everyone Hates Elon. So there you go.
Yeah.
Snappy.
Don't think it's quite factually true. I'm sure lots of people do. But everyone is over-egging it. Anyway, this stunt was all about trying to prove that the United Kingdom has free speech. Because, of course, this meme was discovered on the phone of an individual who was refused entry to the United States a few months ago. Now, a lot of people argue a lot of things on this. There were other issues about this individual who was arriving in the United States, not just the fact that he had a meme on his phone, but this became a big story. And so what this group is trying to say is that the UK somehow has greater free speech rights than the United States of America, where they're implying this meme is illegal. Which
the same people would have been happy seeing so many hundreds of arrests made the other day at a pro-Palestine action protest.
Yeah, I haven't seen
They've said, oh, great, yes, freedom of speech is alive and kicking. I don't know. I'll have to ask them their thoughts on that one. But, yes, this is a bit silly, isn't it? I don't think it proves anything.
Genuinely, I mean, who would have thought this would have... There are things that have got people arrested for what they have said. And actually, the irony of this is that there are terms of harassment in this country. There is legislation that said if JD Vance was personally offended by this, he could have phoned the police and stopped them.
Harassment.
I mean, I suppose it speaks to his principles that he didn't.
Hateful expression.
But isn't it funny that if he had chosen to do that, the police would have knocked on the doors of the people who decided to put this picture on a van? So has it actually undone the message that they were trying to send in the first place? That there is far less freedom of speech in this country than a country like the United States?
And also, there's been quite a lot of activists who have had a nice little August day out in the Cotswolds recently, since JD Vance came along. Yes, the far left have taken to the Cotswolds and been enjoying shouting about how JD Vance doesn't belong here.
It's amazing how many people want to come to the Cotswolds. I don't know what it is about the Cotswolds. It's just a lovely part of the country. Ellen DeGeneres now lives there. JD Vance was
actually, I think she's gone off it. The latest I saw is that she might be selling her pad.
Oh, no, she sold... This is what she does. Every few years, she buys a place, does it up. She sold it. She bought another place in the Cotswolds.
Oh, really?
So she's not leaving the Cotswolds.
Are you sure?
She's just selling her old place in the Cotswolds. Yeah.
So she's just trying out different houses.
Yeah. Well, what can we say? It's a green and pleasant land that is lovely to live in.
Well, it's Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got lots more coming up on today's show, so do stick with us on this A-level results day.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very warm day today, not quite as hot as previous days, nevertheless warm everywhere, but that warmth setting off some showers, particularly across northern parts of the UK, and even some intense thunderstorms, particularly for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've got high pressure in charge, but some instability in the atmosphere is present, and that's allowing some cloud to build. So not entirely sunny, and the chance of one or two showers in places. However, it's eastern Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Northern Ireland, where there is that risk of intense thunderstorms, flashes of lightning, and localised flooding because of the rain rates. Where we do get some sunshine, particularly towards the south, it's going to be very warm, temperatures up to the mid to high 20s. And as we go into the evening, there's still that risk, as you can see, across parts of central and eastern Scotland of these intense downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be very hit and miss. Some places across Scotland will avoid the showers entirely, and Northern Ireland likewise, these intense showers developing, but always hit and miss. 1 or 2 showers also for northern England as well as parts of Wales, but otherwise the cloud tending to fizzle away as the sun goes down, and overnight the showers will ease, with most places turning out dry by the early hours, and it's going to be a warm night for sleeping. There'll be areas of cloud here and there, particularly across the north and the east. North, the low cloud moving in by the end of the night, but clear spells for many as we wake up on Friday. A few mist patches here and there. They tend to lift quickly. And then it's a sunny day for much of England, Wales, western Scotland, Northern Ireland. But we do have this low cloud from the North Sea creeping into the east of Scotland and for parts of eastern England, particularly around North Sea beaches. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine elsewhere, another hot day is expected.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks to see how you could win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Chu, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 14th of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
I've just spent 48 hours in northern France. I wanted to see what's going on up close.
I'm Robert. I'm from England. Why do you want to go to England?
Yes, the Shadow Justice Secretary Robert Jenrick posts a cinematic video of his experience observing migrants and people smugglers in northern France, as protests outside migrant hotels continue here at home.
And in Waterlooville in Hampshire, clearly they're taking heart from the success in their campaign to stop migrants being put into flats in that community.
Tomorrow, Donald Trump is set to meet with Vladimir Putin for crunch peace talks. Meanwhile, Keir Starmer welcomes the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to number 10.
Number 10 says there's a viable chance of progress as long as Putin takes action to prove he's serious about peace. That's after that meeting between Sir Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelenskyy. All eyes now on Alaska tomorrow night, and it's live on GB News.
And it's that time of year again. Yes, top A-level results have reached a record high, despite attempts to curb grade inflation. So, are the children just pockets geniuses, or have exams got a little easier?
So sceptical. Yes, what do you make of Suella Braverman going out there in Waterlooville and celebrating the end of the migrant accommodation there?
I can completely understand it. No community wants a whole host of sort of young men from areas of the world that perhaps have very different values to this one, plonked in the middle of their community. Of course, no community wants that. Although I do see a problem here.
The Labour Tower Hamlets group did.
Because as long as people keep arriving, where do they go? Are we just going to play this game of ping-pong? You know, the biggest protest stops them from going in this particular place. And then does that encourage more protests wherever they're going to be put? I mean, ultimately, as long as these people are here, there's going to be a huge problem. I mean, where do they go?
Where do they go?
Well, the previous government, I will say, one positive development that I think they made in the dealing with the migrant crisis was the move towards bigger, more sort of purpose-built or specially adapted places, like former RAF bases. But they went forward with that particular proposal for Wethersfield, Scampton, the Bibby Stockholm, then only to bow to public pressure and reverse policy on a number of those areas, like Scampton.
Weak.
And that's where the choice is right now, I think, this idea of camps or HMOs. HMOs are going to be more unacceptable than the
Of course,
flats you
they're
saw
right in the heart of communities. So actually, purpose-built or specially adapted places out in areas where people can be controlled. They can, if you can build Nightingale Hospital so quickly, why on earth can't you do the same?
Well, part of this is a legislative issue. Because since the Immigration and Asylum Act of 1999, that required a minimum level of standard of living for asylum seekers in this country paid for by the taxpayer. Since then, there have been a number of decisions by judges that have enhanced that minimum standard level of living, which means that likely the situations that we see in Greece would be illegal in this country. So, I mean, it might need primary legislation actually to allow a sort of camp-based solution.
So a win for Waterlooville may not be a win for anyone else until this problem's solved. Anyway, gbnews.com/you'll say do get in touch, but let's get the headlines.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom. The top story just after 2 o'clock. Sir Keir Starmer has rolled out the red carpet for Volodymyr Zelenskyy at Downing Street as Europe is bracing for that high-stakes meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin tomorrow in Alaska. The Prime Minister said Britain stands ready to increase pressure on Russia if it rejects a ceasefire, with further sanctions already being prepared. He also praised Mr Trump for creating a viable chance to end the war, but reiterated that talks on Ukraine's future shouldn't happen without its involvement. It comes after Trump has already threatened very severe consequences if Putin rejects a ceasefire.
If the first one goes okay, we'll have a quick second one. I would like to do it almost immediately, and we'll have a quick second meeting between President Putin and President Zelenskyy and myself, if they'd like to have me there. And that would be a meeting where maybe it could be absolutely work. But the first meeting will not work that out. Certain great things can be gained in the first. It's going to be a very important meeting. But it's setting the table for the second meeting. I think the second meeting, if the second meeting takes place, now there may be no second meeting, because if I feel that it's not appropriate to have it because I didn't get the answers that we have to have, then we're not going to have a second meeting.
Here, a man accused of driving into crowds during Liverpool's Premier League victory parade now faces a further 24 charges. Paul Doyle is alleged to have driven into fans on the 26th of May, injuring more than 130 people. He was previously charged with 7 offences, including wounding and grievous bodily harm. Now, 6 of those new offences relate to children, including one 6-month-old and the 7-month-old. Around 150 people, including patients and staff, were earlier evacuated from Guy's Hospital in central London after reports of a chemical incident there. The London Fire Brigade was called just before 9 a.m, sending in specialist officers, fire engines and rescue crews. They are now ventilating the basement and the ground floor of the hospital while a large cordon remains in place. No injuries reported and the evacuation is understood to have been precautionary. Top A-level results across England, Wales and Northern Ireland have risen, while a record number of students have also been accepted into their first choice university. Hundreds of thousands of students are receiving results today, with boys outperforming girls in terms of top A-level grades for the first time in 7 years. Fewer students took A-levels this year, while T-levels in England did grow in popularity, but dropout rates remain high. The Education Secretary says today's results show what she described as a steadying of the ship after the pandemic. The UK economy has grown by 0.3% between April and June, slower than the first quarter but stronger than expected, according to official figures from the ONS. Growth was driven by a rise in services and a boost in construction, while production fell. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, says UK is now the fastest growing economy in the G7 for the first half of this year and says today's numbers are encouraging.
Today's numbers show that the economy beat expectations in the second quarter of this year. We are the fastest growing economy in the G7 for the first half of this year, with a GDP growth of 0.3% this quarter, and that's after GDP growth of 0.7% the quarter before that. Look, I recognise there's still more to do to make sure that people in all parts of the country benefit from that growth.
Rachel Reeves there speaking earlier. Well, that is from me for now. I'll be back with you in half an hour. Next, though, let's take a quick look at the markets.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here are those all-important markets. The pound will buy you $1.3581 and €1.1622 euros. The price of gold is £2,471 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 9,159 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 2. Now, it was 1815 when Wellington declared victory in Waterloo. But it was only this week when Suella Braverman declared victory in Waterlooville.
I could see that coming, couldn't you guys? Yeah, that was very nice. So, which one should we talk about? The Battle of Waterloo or Suella Braverman's?
Waterlooville. I think it's a wonderful
It's a fantastic play on words, yes. And it was a victory for Suella Braverman, and she did a victory lap in the town's city centre, didn't she?
Yes, and this is all about the idea that the government would have plonked a whole load of migrants who'd come across on small boats into private accommodation right in the centre of town. Big protests there, and now it seems that the government has backed off. Well, Mark White, our Home and Security Editor, is with us, as is our political editor, Christopher Hope. But Mark, what exactly happened here?
Well, it's a victory of power from the people, of peaceful, persistent protest that has got action. Now, it's not unprecedented at all, because if we remember back a year or two, there were protests at Linton-on-Ouse in North Yorkshire over plans to convert the old RAF base there for use for asylum seekers. The local population got themselves together, protested. The council went as far as trying to sue for an injunction at the High Court. And then, of course, the same happened with Scampton in Lincolnshire, the former RAF base there, where they were planning to put migrant accommodation in that base. The local population got together, the council got behind it, and again they went to the High Court. And there, the Conservative government backed down on both occasions. Now it's the Labour government backing down, but I think it will give heart to those protesting outside migrant hotels across the country, that if you can be, you know, peaceful but vociferous, organised, getting the local authority behind you, then you can pressure the government of the day potentially to back off.
And yet, isn't this just a protesters' charter? I mean, ultimately, not everywhere can protest. The people have got to go somewhere.
Listen, you're 100% right, and that's why I think Suella Braverman and Kemi Badenoch really do have something when they're talking about the way forward being to house these illegal immigrants, come asylum seekers, in purpose-built or specially adapted camps. Big areas, probably in rural areas, away from big centres of population, where they can be catered for, where they can be kept away from the population in general, and looked after until a decision can be made as to whether asylum should be granted. At that point, they can then be moved into the general population.
Well, we thought they're now going to be returned to France, aren't they? They're going to be detained and deported, Mark. We don't need to worry about this accommodation issue anymore.
Well, even the government admits that it will be modest at best while they see whether this particular scheme, a treaty with France, works. The number that's not being disputed by government that's out there is about 50 a week. Well, we can tell you that in the past week, more than 2,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel. So 2,000 compared to 50, it's not a deterrent, is it? No people smuggler looks upon it as a deterrent. And until or unless that it grows very sizably to the point where you're more likely than not to be sent back to France, it's not going to be a deterrent.
I think it's gone up from being a sort of 94% likelihood to stay to now being a 97.5 likelihood to stay on the basis
You're
of
very
these
good
numbers.
with your mathematics today, Tom, I have to say.
Well, I've got to jot down something in my notebook. So just going back to my GCSE
I hope they're right.
maths there. I think that's
I hope you've done your sums correctly.
I think 50 out of 2,000 is 2.5%. I might be wrong, but it's just jotted down there. So do correct me, gbnews.com/you'll say if you think you've got a better...
Oh, you're annoying me today, Tom.
Okay.
Sorry. but it's OK, it's probably just my hormones. Anyway, should we move on?
We should say that this is all linked, of course, to the issues in Calais and around the North French coast. And one politician who has been there recently, of course, is Robert Jenrick. We spoke to him last hour, and he's accused French police of failing to act after reporting dozens of migrants with life jackets preparing to cross the English Channel.
Yes, and he spoke to us. We had him in the studio, and he was quite shocked at what he witnessed in France. Let's take a listen.
I literally saw migrants walking down a highway holding life jackets. No one did anything. I saw them getting on a public bus. No one stops them. I mean, imagine if you're getting on the bus and 40 or 50 migrants holding life jackets got on. Not exactly subtle. I even saw police cars go past and look at them and didn't do anything. And then in the morning, at daybreak, at Dunkirk beach, when I knew they were very likely heading to that beach or another one, I phoned the police in France because I thought, I've got to do something. I've got to stop these people getting into our country. And the French did absolutely nothing.
Well, that's what Robert Jenrick had to say. But what of this increasing trend of politicians becoming sort of investigators in and of themselves? Well, joining us now is the former mayor of Middlesbrough and political commentator Andy Preston. Andy, thanks for being with us this afternoon. What do you make of Robert Jenrick's investigation?
Well, good afternoon, everyone, first of all. It is an investigation. It's a political move. Look, it's attracting attention. It's raising the profile of the politicians involved, and it is focusing the public attention. So you could argue it's good. But you know what? The problem is bigger than that. The problem is is big. People are panicking. There is the potential for this to grow and grow and rapidly become an issue that we can't control here, with people getting angrier and angrier. So we need to find solutions, not gimmicks. So what we need to do, in my opinion, is two really simple, quick things. First of all, we have to find a way to get offshore processing. And I would respectfully say to Robert Jenrick and Chris Philp is that investigating where in Albania, looking at countries like Nauru, where Australia worked so successfully, offshore processing absolutely deters illegal immigration. Only the most determined and the most genuine asylum seekers are going to come here and land here if they know they'll be processed elsewhere. So we need to try much harder at that. I know we tried with Rwanda, but we need to try much harder at that. And Albania would work. And then the next thing we need to do to save tension, to save police time, is to make sure that asylum seekers are housed out in the country on military bases, places like that where there's lots of space. And I've done a load of work into this. These people can be housed for something less than £20 a night. We would save billions of pounds. They would be safe, the public would feel safer, and we would stop the problem. So I think there are lots of things that Chris Philp and Robert Jenrick could have done that would have been more effective.
OK, Andy Preston, thank you very much indeed. A very concise former Mayor of Middlesbrough and political commentator. Two big things that the government needs to think about. I'm sure Chris Philp and Robert Jenrick would say, well, if Rwanda had been allowed to get up and running, that would have acted as the big deterrent.
Well, this is, of course, both a logistics issue and a politics issue. So let's bring in our political editor, Christopher Hope. What do you think of this idea of the shadow cabinet increasingly sort of becoming video creation machines?
Yes, I mean, citizen journalists, aren't they? They are not journalists, they're politicians, so we have to say they're claiming these things that they talk about, but they are not witnesses in the same way that we are. I think it's working in the sense we're talking about small boats. Critics are correctly saying you had 14 years to put this right. Why are you doing this when now you've got some small spare time in opposition? That is frustrating and annoying because you've been in power for all that time. Why not do it then?
Yeah, Mark, have they actually found anything out that we didn't already know, Mark?
No, we've known for years that migrants have got on buses unhindered by the authorities, that they walk about with their belongings, with life jackets. We've known for years that the jungle encampments are very violent places. We know that they go to the beaches to catch them. I'm not sure what they have shown that really casts any kind of light.
Is there an argument here, though, that everyone knows how the Ford factory works? Everyone knows how a Jaguar Land Rover factory works. Everyone knows how a Nissan factory works. You can look at the theory, you can be briefed about it, you can be told about it. But politicians still want to go to the workshop floor. They still want to talk to the people who are making the cars. They still want to feel like they're there and that adds something to their understanding.
Well, that really matters, and that's why I think Keir Starmer not going to Epping, not meeting the families next door to the Bell Hotel, like Kevin Badenoch did on Monday, matters. I think going to talk to people, maybe in Waterlooville, Mark.
I agree with you, but I would have more respect for Chris Philp and Robert Jenrick if they had gone to see what was happening on the other side of the channel when they were in office, when they were ministers. They didn't.
Are they away by their officials? Are they doing it because they can control their diaries now and they've got more time? I don't know.
It seems to me to be much more relevant while you're the minister in charge of that particular issue to go across and see what is happening. I never heard one of those politicians when they were ministers criticising the French police, who they happily... It wasn't this government, it wasn't the Labour government that gave the French more than £500 million over recent years. And yet that was the Conservatives.
And yet, if you're a minister that's visiting a foreign country, that is a diplomatic event. So that would have... I mean, not impossible, clearly not impossible. Ministers visit other countries all the time. I can imagine that's a more tricky thing to do than just hopping on a ferry and going there. I mean, that would require one government talking to another.
I can't imagine it's that difficult. I really can't.
Yes, and a lot of people watching this will be thinking the Conservatives had many years in government and they didn't achieve what they set out to achieve, which was ending this migrant boat crisis. So it's a bit rich now. It's a bit rich now. But then, you know, the more the merrier, more people shining a light on this issue, important in and of itself, I reckon.
Something else important in and of itself is, of course, international affairs. Sir Keir Starmer welcomed the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to Downing Street, all ahead of the big meeting tomorrow between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Yes, President Trump says there will be very severe consequences if Putin does not agree to end the war in Ukraine, and will travel to Friday's summit in the US state of Alaska with contrasting priorities as they prepare for talks on ending Russia's war.
Well, Chris Hope, our political editor, has got all the briefing notes in front of him. What have we learned?
Well, we have two different views of it. Yet again, we get little detail from the UK on this meeting and a lot more from Ukraine. So from the UK side, we have a meeting today with Keir Starmer and Volodymyr Zelenskyy. They're saying that there's a viable chance to make progress towards peace as long as Putin takes action to prove he's serious about that peace. That's the UK side. But I'm looking here now at a post on social media from President Zelenskyy. He says that UK and Ukraine have talked today in considerable detail about the security guarantees that can make peace truly durable if the US succeeds in pressing Russia to stop the killings and engages in genuine diplomacy. So it's important, he's saying now, within the framework of the coalition of the willing, that they can achieve effective formats for security cooperation. What that means for EU forces, UK forces, are we now getting towards UK troops on the ground?
Well, remind us what the coalition of the willing is. Basically NATO without America.
Yes, NATO without America, or they need to have America as a backstop. So it's America in the background, but to the fore is a new. Yes, it's not an EU army and it's not a NATO army.
It involves Canada as well.
Canada, Australia too, and others.
Yeah.
Yes, and they discussed also in these talks about the defence industry, more drone support. I'm always startled by the fact we get a lot more information from other countries coming here than our own country. But I digress. That is a frustrating thing, I think, trying to cover this information. But it's all about tomorrow now, and these talks between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska.
Well, I mean, that is so interesting because it could mean that we are providing this guarantee, this backstop, without America. I mean, if these talks... I would imagine Zelenskyy is sort of asking these European countries to say, well, why don't you just say an attack on Ukraine is an attack on all of us?
That's NATO, isn't it? That's a NATO guarantee, which is almost unacceptable to Vladimir Putin. So
absolutely, but you could imagine that with a sort of parallel structure, a coalition of the willing declaration.
Yeah, I'm interested to know, Mark, where you think we are with this as a globe, as a world. Do you think we're going to reach some kind of agreement tomorrow?
It's certainly possible. I think we perhaps focus a bit too much on the issue of land, of territory, and how much Vladimir Putin is prepared to settle for. There's a bigger issue at play here, and that's sovereignty. He does not believe that Ukraine should be a sovereign nation. Ukraine, as far as he is concerned, and he has said as much multiple times publicly, is a part of the greater Russia.
And by sovereignty, or sovereignty, I suppose that is ability to join whatever international alliance it wants to.
All of the above. So he has those fundamental issues and concerns about Ukraine. So, yes, the territory, the land grab is an element of that, but he will want those reassurances as well.
Say this is pretty impossible then, really.
There may be some kind of a deal, I'm sure, but does it mean that it's settled in the long term? I doubt it very much.
Well, Mark White, Christopher Hope, it's been a fascinating discussion. Much more, no doubt, is happening over the course of the next 24, 48 hours on this. Watch this space.
But yes, in other news, it's good news for A-level pupils and also T-levels and other things. A-level results have reached a record high today, despite some attempts to curb grade inflation. Are children getting cleverer, teachers getting better, or are exams getting a tad easier?
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. 27 minutes past 2 is the time, and the day is A-level results day.
Yes, it's the day when thousands of teenagers receive their grades across England, Wales and Northern Ireland, and they've done rather well this year.
It's been 2 or 3 years now of increased numbers of A's and A stars. So shall we speak to head teacher at LVS Ascot, Christine Cunniff. Christine, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, how did the children in your school do?
They did very well. And as you just said, the top grades were up again this year. And that is due to their hard work and their commitment to their studies. They deserve as much praise as they can get today, along with all the children across the country who have done exceptionally well.
And have you seen any trends this year? So your students have done very well indeed. Have they done better than previous years, or is it about the same? And are they picking different subjects these days?
So the overall pass rate was slightly down on last year, although it's above the national pass rate, which I think is about 91.7%. But what we've seen is that rise in the top grades, and also everybody's got where they should be. So our value added, for example, which is how much we expect from our children from a baseline, is actually improved as well. So it means that they're all done really, really well. As for trends and things, I think we're seeing the majority of our children get to their first or second choice universities. There's a lot of options out there for them, lots to consider this year. So what we're saying to some is, if you're not sure, take a step back. It's actually a buyer's market at the moment, and make sure you're making the right decision.
That's really, really useful advice. But here comes the curmudgeonly and grinchy part of it all. Is it sustainable for year on year more and more people to get A stars and A grades? Of course, those that have got them have done very well, but there has been a bit of general grade inflation. We've seen this over previous decades. It's why they had to bring in the A star, because the A's became less meaningful. Is there a worry that these grades become less and less meaningful over time?
I think so, but there also comes a time when there has to be reform when it comes to exams in particular as well. And we've been talking about this for a long time. And we're in a place where now children know what's expected of them. I think the standard of teaching and learning across the country has improved. And again, I think it's now time that we have to look at how we are examining children, what's best for the future, what are the skills for the future as well. Are we actually sitting in an outdated system? And my answer to that would be, yes, we are.
OK, well, Christine Cunniff, congratulations, and congratulations to your pupils who've done so well today. Head teacher at LVS Ascot, Christine Cunniff there. Good news. I remember my mum was a teacher for quite a few years, and A-level results day, just as nerve-wracking for the teachers.
Really, I bet.
Yeah, because it's all about, the department did this well last year, new teachers, are they going to continue the trend, or are those results going to go down? You know, the stress of it.
Yeah.
And the excitement too.
I have to say my parents were definitely more stressed about my exam level, about my exams the night before than I was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, they were...
They thought, oh, God, he's going to do dreadfully.
But it was all right on the night.
It was all right on the night. But yes, I think it is. I think it is stressful for the teachers.
It was just such a big contrast between me and my sister. My sister did so much work, did all the sort of visible... Because it's not even about doing more, it's about doing visible work versus work that is less visible.
Work smart.
Well, or just sort of, you know, you can read through stuff and not necessarily make colour-coded notes. And then everyone sort of thinks that you're doing less work, but maybe you're not doing less work.
Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're just not using a coloured pen. Anyway.
Or a highlighter, yeah.
Or a highlighter, indeed. Or a little Post-it note in sparkly pink.
Didn't have any of those.
Which you might have. I mean, the amount of money I probably spent at stationery shops. Ryman's, was it? Or W.H. Smith. W.H. Smith was where I went.
Which is being renamed. I think a lot of these stations... Do you think children are doing less of the sparkly revision now? Because it does seem that some of these shops are going into administration.
Oh, it's probably all on the iPad, right?
Yeah.
All on the iPad. ChatGPT writing absolutely everything for you.
Oh,
just a game of memory. It's just in short-term memory and it's out the next day for a lot of children. I mean, let's admit, I mean, how much of my chemistry GCSE do I remember now?
Can you remember how to build a blast furnace? You know,
no.
come the apocalypse, you know, come the sort of nuclear winter, when we have to start civilization over from the beginning. I imagine that's what the chemistry GCSE was all about, learning how to build a blast furnace. But
I remember I got a D in my mock chemistry GCSE, and then I got an A star on the day. Thank you, Dad. He had a degree in chemistry.
Oh, that helps.
Just told me to memorise it.
Amazing. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more to come on today's programme, including this. A former US track star says that she lost records and opportunities to a transgender teammate. Well, in a British broadcast exclusive, she wants to address what she views as an issue of fairness in women's sport. She'll join us in just a moment. That's after your latest headlines.
Hello from the newsroom. A very good afternoon to you. The top story at 2:30. The man accused of driving into a crowd at Liverpool football parade faces 24 new charges after appearing in court this morning. Paul Doyle is alleged to have injured 134 people. 6 of the new offences relate to children. Patients and staff have been evacuated from Guy's Hospital in central London today after a chemical incident there. Specialist officers and rescue units have been on the scene, and crews are ventilating the basement and ground floor while a large cordon remains in place. Students across the country have been opening their A-level, T-level and BTEC results today. UCAS says a record 226,000 pupils got into their first choice university. That's 82% of offer holders. The Education Secretary says it's a steadying of the ship after the pandemic. And Keir Starmer has welcomed the Ukrainian president to Downing Street ahead of a summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. The Prime Minister says there is now a viable chance of a ceasefire, but leaders are pushing for stronger sanctions if Russia refuses to halt its attacks. Those are the headlines, and that's it from me for today. Tatiana Sanchez here at 3 with a full roundup.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very warm day today, not quite as hot as previous days, nevertheless warm everywhere, but that warmth setting off some showers, particularly across northern parts of the UK, and even some intense thunderstorms, particularly for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've got high pressure in charge, but some instability in the atmosphere is present, and that's allowing some cloud to build. So not entirely sunny, and the chance of 1 or 2 showers in places. However, it's eastern Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Northern Ireland, where there is that risk of intense thunderstorms, flashes of lightning, and localised flooding because of the rain rates. Where we do get some sunshine, particularly towards the south, it's going to be very warm, temperatures up to the mid to high 20s. And as we go into the evening, there's still that risk, as you can see, across parts of central and eastern Scotland of these intense downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be very hit and miss. Some places across Scotland will avoid the showers entirely, and Northern Ireland likewise, these intense showers developing, but always hit and miss. 1 or 2 showers also for Northern England as well as parts of Wales, but otherwise the cloud tending to fizzle away as the sun goes down, and overnight the showers will ease, with most places turning out dry by the early hours, and it's going to be a warm night for sleeping. There'll be areas of cloud here and there, particularly across the north and the east. North's the low cloud moving in by the end of the night, but clear spells for many as we wake up on Friday. A few mist patches here and there. They tend to lift quickly. And then it's a sunny day for much of England, Wales, western Scotland, Northern Ireland. But we do have this low cloud from the North Sea creeping into the east of Scotland and for parts of eastern England, particularly around North Sea beaches. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine elsewhere, another hot day is expected.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. The A725 northbound from Belsey Hill roundabout remains closed for maintenance. Motorists should follow diversions and prepare for delays. Congestion affects the M4 eastbound from junction 44 Lonlas to junction 43 Landasi. In Norfolk, the A47 eastbound between the A1064 and the A149 is closed due to an accident. The M6 southbound in Warwickshire between junctions 4 and 3 is closed due to a vehicle fire. And on the trains, there's disruption on the cross-country line between Cheltenham Spa and Bristol Parkway, and on the Elizabeth line at Heathrow Airport. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 37 minutes past 2. Now, Caroline Hill, a former track star at Rochester Institute of Technology, says she lost records and opportunities to a transgender teammate.
Yes, this all took place in the United States. Now, Hill claims the rules led to the loss of her records and competitive opportunities.
Well, now having graduated from university, she is pressing ahead as a now public member of the Gaines versus NCAA lawsuit over in the States, publicly speaking out to address what she views as an issue of fairness in women's sports.
Now, this is the first time she's spoken to a British broadcaster. Delighted to say we're joined by the former sprinter and captain of the team at Rochester Institute for Technology, Caroline Hill herself. Thank you, Caroline. And co-founder at the Independent Council on Women's Sports, Marshy Smith. Caroline, thank you so much for your time. Reading your story, it's very interesting. Would you like to explain in your own words what happened to you? You were a fantastic sprinter, a fantastic athlete, and then something changed.
Hi, yes. So my second year of school, I had some success in track and field, which was awesome. But then we had a male student who was transitioning to become a female identifying athlete, competing on our women's team. And so the beginning of that year, the second year, the athlete broke some records right away. It was definitely, a biological difference that was evident to all. And so that was shocking. And in my opinion, there needs to be a line drawn when it comes to competitive sports.
Yeah. So Caroline, just to explain what the rules are in the United States, is it the case that this particular athlete, this transgender athlete, was only at the very beginning of her transition, didn't sort of have any biological difference than when she was competing as a male athlete?
As far as I know the athlete was taking some hormonal medications to sort of transition, but biologically, I know the athlete had competed as a male in high school. And so when the athlete started competing with us, he had been on hormones for 1 year, and that was the rule at the time.
Only 1 year?
Athletes, yeah, it's 1 year or longer. That was the amount of time required to compete in the NCAA.
Now, Caroline, you're being quite modest, saying that you had some successes in your field. I'm just reading here, you were the team captain, the school record holder in the 6,200, 300-metre dash. Then this biologically male athlete beginning their transition to a woman joined the track team, and you write that he effortlessly broke both your 200-metre and 300-metre records. Just tell us how that felt. I can't imagine you've had all these records. You have a transgender athlete come in, effortlessly beat you by your words, and then you're not listened to. What did you do next?
Yeah, so when it first happened, the records I have broken, most of them were decades old. And, you know, when you break a record, it's usually by a very small margin. And these records were beaten by multiple seconds, which in short sprints, track and field, is unheard of. And so after that happened, that was when I sort of realized, oh, the administration, the coaches aren't going to do anything about this, or aren't going to address the issue, or, you know, I kind of just had to go along with it. And, you know, knowing that the administration and my coaches were supporting this athlete, and I was definitely afraid to speak up because, you know, I was training with my team, with my coaches every single day. I wanted to focus on my competition, on my training. So it was a really tough spot to be in, for sure.
OK, let's bring in Marshy now, because Marshy, you've been working together, I suppose, on this issue, on this case. What is the Independent Council on Women's Sports?
We are a US-based female athlete advocacy network of athletes, of which Sharon Davies and some other incredible UK warriors are also a part of. We are advocating for sex-protected categories in women's sports, helping athletes like Caroline share their incredible and important stories. But probably our biggest initiative is in the legal realm. We are supporting 3 collegiate athlete lawsuits against the NCAA and universities across the country here who have violated Title IX, a federal law in America that was established over 50 years ago, that upholds the opportunities of female athletes and women in educational institutions so that they can acquire awards and records like
in some
Caroline.
way, Marshy, this is a bit similar. What you're doing with your Title IX case is a little bit similar to what we had in the United Kingdom with a case over the Equality Act, the definition of a woman under that act. Something similar going on in the United States now.
Caroline, as well as Riley Gaines, and almost 36 female athletes in college sports are fighting our way to that point. You know, the highest court in your land has ruled in favor of women. We anticipate the same in America, but we need to get there first. And so supporting athletes like Caroline is crucial right now in the States.
Yeah, because just to finish, Donald Trump wasn't one of the first executive orders he signed off on about female sports and making it totally sex-based. So is it just a case that certain colleges, certain sports associations aren't abiding by that change?
Well, policy changes right now are largely cosmetic. We have the administration's strong support, which is great. But what happens in 3 years when someone else is sitting in the Oval Office? We need long-standing legal wins for female athletes in order to have long-term success and uphold the rights of women.
OK, well, Marshy Smith and Caroline Hill, thank you very much indeed. Good luck to you both. Thank you very much, Caroline Hill there and Marshy Smith from the Independent Council on Women's Sports.
In their first UK broadcast interview.
Yes, absolutely. Well, GB News has reached out to the university mentioned, that's the Rochester Institute of Technology, for a right of reply, but we've yet to receive a response. We will, of course, bring that to you when we do receive it.
Right, well, we've been over in the United States of America there. Let's travel back to Europe and take a look at the holiday sunshine forecast for you now.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The summer heat wave continues across much of Europe, particularly inland France, Spain and Portugal, where we're likely to see temperatures in the mid to low 40s. And with these high temperatures, we are set to see plenty of sunshine, but slightly different story as we move our way eastwards across the Mediterranean. At times, this heat is likely to produce some quite heavy, if not thundery showers across parts of Italy. And that is set to continue over the weekend, and the hot temperatures are here to stay.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Wake up with a familiar face. She's back on breakfast television. Penny Smith returns.
Miss me? Well, I'm here and I brought the coffee.
And we're reuniting to brighten your morning.
It's just like old times, only better.
So join Penny and me next Monday and Tuesday only on GB News Breakfast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 3, and for those watching on television, you might see a smorgasbord of different puddings magically appear in front of us here in the
Oh, there we
News.
go, yes. If we just for a slight tilt of the camera there.
And why is that? Well, it's looking like a sticky end for British puddings.
Yeah, they're facing extinction, some of these. Research from the charity English Heritage suggests 2/3 of households in England, Wales and Scotland make puddings only once a month or less, while a third never bake or boil or indeed steam one.
Which is an outrage, because I just remember as a schoolboy growing up, this in front of us would be what I had every single time, whether it was clotted cream rice pudding, which we have in front of us here, magical, bread and butter pudding I have here. I thought it might have been spotted dick to start with, but it does look like bread and butter pudding in actual fact. What have you got in front of you?
Well done for remembering the dessert. We've got golden syrup sponge here, and we've also got some raspberry sponge concoction there, which do look like school dinners, yes, but they're probably quite tasty. You're going to try yours?
I think I have to.
Has that been heated up for you?
Let's.
Is it cold rice pudding?
Well, there's only one way to find out. It does feel mildly warm, although I do know the kitchen at GB News is quite a long way from the studio. So here we go.
Let's watch Tom eat his rice pudding. Nice.
There's quite a lot of clotted cream in this clotted cream rice pudding.
We used to have that cake that they could make in massive batches with little sprinkles on top. That's the dessert. That's the pudding I remember.
You know, Emily, you just continue to talk. I'm just going to eat this.
Well, yeah, you can just continue eating that, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look very nice, does it, rice pudding? But it does taste quite nice when it's heated up with a little bit of jam on top.
The one thing about this rice pudding, it doesn't have a skin. A good rice pudding has to have a skin across the top. Then it is just the most magical thing.
Well, I blame whoever microwaved it.
I don't think you can ever get a skin out of a microwave.
I'm going to try this delicious raspberry one.
Oh yeah. What's the verdict here?
Sorry if you can hear my...
It looks very enticing indeed.
It's a little bit too sweet for me, so I'm going to have to try this one.
It looks too sweet, so you're going to dive into the syrup. Famously not sweet at all.
Maybe this one will be more tangy.
Syrup sponge pudding there, which does look actually incredibly
I personally
enticing.
prefer that one.
Very, very nice. Wow.
But I would have no idea how to make it.
Oh, I think surely it's just a Victoria sponge and you lob a load of syrup on it, I would have thought. But
would you just whip that up, would you, Tom?
Yeah.
You have secret talents.
Easy sponge cake.
You've never brought a pudding into
Not yet, I'm not Miriam Cates. Now, Miriam Cates does bring puddings in.
Oh, yeah,
for
she's
us.
very good, isn't she?
She is absolutely... So here's the bread and butter.
Oh, I don't like the look of that one. Looks a bit congealed.
Now, this I haven't had since I was at school.
Is it nice?
Which I think is just absolutely typical school pudding, is bread and butter pudding, as is rice pudding, actually.
I'll always be more of a savoury person. You know, if you gave me that or a packet of crisps, I'd pick a packet of crisps every day of the week.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, obviously a packet of crisps, easier on the go, but there is nothing to warm you up in the darkest days of winter better than a traditional British pudding.
Do you think it's a shame if these puddings go extinct? If rice pudding is just, you know, in the history books?
I do not believe that they will ever go extinct.
Really?
As long as there are schoolboys and schoolgirls in this land with hungry bellies to be fed, this mass catering sort of... this peak of mass catering will be provided in the great educational institutions up and down the land.
Did your mum ever make pudding for you?
Oh, yeah. Rice pudding. We had an Arga at home, so completely crispy top. Oh, it was brilliant.
I just had Angel Delight if I was lucky. Mum, where were you? Where were you in the kitchen making me sticky toffee pudding?
Oh no, but the rice pudding was nothing compared to the cakes that my mum used to make.
Lucky old you, eh?
She did. I once had a vertical TARDIS themed cake.
God.
That made everyone's tongues blue. But that's it from Good Afternoon Britain today. Up next, it's Martin Daubney.
He has to sit through us.
Thank you very much. Right, so do you remember when Darren Jones, Labour Minister, told us it was mostly women and children on boats? Today, astonishing new data, exclusive from GB News, 87% men. And guess how many are military-age men? And you'll not believe your eyes about the national breakdown. Plus, which countries get a 99% acceptance rate of asylum? An astonishing report that blows the government's narrative completely out of the water. Plus, 1 in 8 dairy farmers threaten to quit the industry because of inheritance tax grabs. I'll speak to 2 dairy farmers to ask them why have things gone so sour for farmers. That's next, but first, here's your weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi there, welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another very warm day today, not quite as hot as previous days, nevertheless warm everywhere, but that warmth setting off some showers, particularly across northern parts of the UK, and even some intense thunderstorms, particularly for parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland. We've got high pressure in charge, but some instability in the atmosphere is present, and that's allowing some cloud to build. So not entirely sunny, and the chance of 1 or 2 showers in places. However, it's eastern Scotland, as well as eastern parts of Northern Ireland, where there is that risk of intense thunderstorms, flashes of lightning, and localised flooding because of the rain rates. Where we do get some sunshine, particularly towards the south, it's going to be very warm, temperatures up to the mid to high 20s. And as we go into the evening, there's still that risk, as you can see, across parts of central and eastern Scotland of these intense downpours and thunderstorms. They'll be very hit and miss. Some places across Scotland will avoid the showers entirely, and Northern Ireland likewise, these intense showers developing, but always hit and miss. 1 or 2 showers also for Northern England as well as parts of Wales, but otherwise the cloud tending to fizzle away as the sun goes down, and overnight the showers will ease, with most places turning out dry by the early hours, and it's going to be a warm night for sleeping. There'll be areas of cloud here and there, particularly across the north and the east. North, the low cloud moving in by the end of the night, but clear spells for many as we wake up on Friday. A few mist patches here and there. They tend to lift quickly. And then it's a sunny day for much of England, Wales, western Scotland, Northern Ireland. But we do have this low cloud from the North Sea creeping into the east of Scotland and for parts of eastern England, particularly around North Sea beaches. That's going to make it feel cool, but where we've got the sunshine elsewhere, another hot day is expected.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Now, the National Memorial to Queen Elizabeth II will include a new bridge in St James's Park, designed by Norman Foster.
Yes, the translucent bridge will be inspired by the tiara the Queen wore on her wedding day.
But let's get more now from St James's Park with our royal correspondent Cameron Walker. Cameron, what's the memorial going to be like?
Good afternoon, Tom and Emily. Yes, the wait is finally over. We have the final design from the renowned architect Lord Foster, who famously once criticised the King for his views on architecture. But of course, today it's all about honouring Queen Elizabeth II and her legacy. On that theme, at Marlborough Gate, which is the big gate you see behind me, which overlooks the Mall, that's going to be renamed Queen Elizabeth II Place. And there is, according to the artist impression, going to be a big statue of Queen Elizabeth II riding a horse overlooking the Mall. Of course, incredibly poignant because she had a deep love of all things equine. Incredibly poignant, of course, as well, significant love between Prince Philip and the late Queen. It's going to apparently, according to the architect, or hinted by the architect, light up at night as well, which is meant to symbolise all the diamonds that were part of that tiara. And the Queen famously also gave it to her granddaughter, loaned it to her granddaughter, Princess Beatrice, for her wedding in 2020. And then we come to the final part of St James's Park's Queen Elizabeth II's memorial, and that is going to be right here at the other end of the park, overlooking Birdcage Walk, going to be renamed Prince Philip Gate, because a new statue of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip is going to be erected at the other side of St James's Park. It's meant to be them, according to the artist's impressions, in their younger years.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show on GB News. We're broadcasting for you live from the heart of Westminster and all across the UK. Now, do you remember when a Labour minister told us this?
And when you see that the majority of the people in these boats are children, babies and women who have been...
No, they're not.
Children, babies and women. Well, today that baseless claim can be blown out of the water by exclusive data seen by GB News that shows an astonishing 87% of illegal dinghy arrivals are men. And we'll also have a full nationality breakdown and astonishing data on the nation with a 99% acceptance rate of asylum. And we ask, is our government delusional or are they being purposely ignorant? Football's governing body UEFA has kicked off a political storm by displaying a massive pro-Palestine banner reading "Stop Killing Children." With a campaign against anti-Semitism condemning the decision, is it finally time to show politics the red card in football? And a camp for Muslim kids in Hertfordshire has been cancelled after it was revealed that its organisers had previously claimed Zionists brought this disaster on themselves, just 5 days after Hamas's October the 7th massacre. Now, with the organisers now crying Islamophobia, I'll speak to the government's anti-terror czar, who says no one should be taken in by their victim narrative. And a shocking new survey has shown that 1 in 8 of all dairy farmers, that's over 900 of them, are considering quitting the industry in the next year, with unions warning that could lead to food shortages.